working in concert with other governments in the hemisphere to be pushing hard right now to get this situation under control. Now, the good news is that for the most part, Zika is not a type of disease like Ebola where it's life-threatening. It is, in some cases, folks may not even have symptoms that are significant. But what we do know is that if pregnant women are infected, it can have severe consequences for the fetus and a child that's born and has been impacted by the Zika virus. So, we have been issuing guidelines in terms of folks who are of childbearing age, who are thinking about starting a family. We know that men can transmit Zika through their semen if they are infected. And so we have issued a range of guidelines about how to approach this problem. But the most important thing that we can do right now is to actually reduce the incidence of Zika. We can issue precautions for travel to areas that have Zika. We can give people guidelines in terms of how to deal with it if they get infected. But this is actually something that we could reduce the risks if Congress does the right thing and allocates the dollars that are needed right now to get the job done. In a briefing by Dr. Fauci at the NIH, the good news is that we feel fairly confident that we can develop an effective vaccine for Zika. And that would help a whole lot of people and allow us to get out in front of this problem before it's in the continental United States. But that requires research money. And in order for a vaccine to be widely available, it has to be tested to make sure it's safe. It has to be tested to make sure that it is effective. And we're beginning right now on a whole bunch of promising pathways to get those tests done so that in fairly short order, we might have a vaccine available and people wouldn't have to worry about this. The problem is right now that that money is stuck in Congress. And we have not seen the House and the Senate come together in a sensible way to put forward the dollars that we have requested that have been budgeted to get the job done. So what I want the American people to understand is that I expect Congress to get this funding done before they leave for vacation, before they adjourn. That's part of their basic responsibility. We put up forward a budget request of $1.9 billion. We didn't draw that figure from the clouds. It was based on the assessment of our scientists and our experts in terms of what was going to be needed for basic mosquito abatement and vaccine development and making sure that we've got the proper diagnostic tools so that we can respond effectively to protect the health and safety of the American people. And that request has been up there for quite some time and it's gotten caught up in politics, and we've seen people trying to attach legislation on a bunch of unrelated topics to this funding. It's been politics as usual rather than responding smartly to a very serious public health request. So just to summarize, number one, we have put forward guidelines in terms of travel to areas that have Zika, and we are recommending that pregnant women or women of childbearing years who are thinking about being pregnant or individuals who are traveling to Zika-infected areas, male partners who want to make sure that they're not infecting their spouses or their partners, that they have to take a look and see whether they're traveling in the right places. That's point number one. And you can go to the CDC website in order to find out how you can protect yourself. Stay informed and protect yourself during this summer. Point number 2 is we have a crisis right now in Puerto Rico surrounding Zika, and we have to obtain the resources to make sure that we are engaging in mosquito abatement and providing the kind of basic health services to reduce the effects of Zika in Puerto Rico. At a time when Puerto Rico is already going through a tough time and its public health infrastructure is being strained because of budget constraints and debt problems, it's especially important that we're responsive to the millions of American citizens who live there. And keep in mind that there's a lot of travel back and forth between Puerto Rico and the continental United States. So this is not something that ultimately may end up just being isolated there. That's point number 2. And point number 3, we have to get the money from Congress over the next 2 weeks to make sure that we can begin to develop the effective vaccines, the mosquito abatement tools, the state emergency response dollars, so that all of us are safe. And we're not seeing families dealing with tragedies that can last a lifetime. This is just common sense, and this is not the time to play politics. You know, there are going to be all kinds of negotiations up on Capitol Hill around budget items for the remainder of the year, and that's to be expected. That's what happens you know, during budget negotiations. But when there are emergencies, when there are public health emergencies, when we know that we have the chance to prevent serious tragedies in the lives of families and protect the health and safety of our populations, and particularly our children, then those politics need to be set aside. So Congress should not leave, should not adjourn until they have this done. And I want all the American people to know that we have a chance of developing a vaccine quickly that will help a lot of people as long as Congress over the next few weeks does its job. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you all.
All right, guys, that wraps up President Obama's discussion on Zika virus. Let's go ahead and pull up this clip now from Chicago regarding 4th of July safety. They just held a press conference earlier today.
As we enter the 4th of July weekend, the Chicago Police Department, in close partnership with our local, state, federal partners and law enforcement, has put together a comprehensive strategy to promote peace and safety throughout the city. I'd like to thank those that joined me here today, including Leo Smits, Director of the Illinois State Police, Marlon Parks, First Deputy of the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, and Rich Gaitis, Managing Deputy Director of OEMC. I'll let my counterparts speak about their individual plans, but I'd like to start out by letting the public know what CPD expects for the holiday weekend. Through the following initiatives, we're making it abundantly clear that we will not tolerate violence in our neighborhoods and are taking strong steps to hold criminals accountable for their actions. Beginning tonight and through the weekend, expect to see a larger police presence throughout the city, especially at Navy Pier, on the lakefront, in parks, CTA stations, and on city streets, with more than 5,000 uniformed and plainclothes officers patrolling the city. We're increasing the amount of officers on foot and bike patrol and increasing traffic enforcement throughout the city. We're taking proactive steps to enforce warrants and take offenders off the streets before they engage in additional criminal behavior or become a victim of violence. Just this week, we conducted a series of raids targeting gang members and their operations, including one in the Uptown neighborhood where 27 offenders were arrested. You should also expect to hear more about raids in the weeks and months ahead, in addition to one that just occurred overnight. We'll have more to announce on that this afternoon. Starting today, we're implementing our new overtime initiative that I announced earlier this week, where officers will be able to work additional time in their regularly assigned districts and focus on the areas that they know are potential hotspots for crime. We're also utilizing our summer mobile patrol that will be able to better move throughout the city as the need arises. We also recently announced that more than 150 officers are back on the street that were previously working desk duties. More officers on the street is a win for the city and gives the department more flexibility in our deployments. While we face historical challenges, including repeat offenders willing to use illegal guns to solve petty issues, make no mistake about it that CPD is using every tool in its arsenal to ensure the safety of all Chicagoans. Finally, let me reiterate what I said earlier. CPD will not tolerate violent behavior, and if you choose to put others in danger for your own actions, you will feel the full weight of CPD and our partners in law enforcement. Now I'd like to ask Director Schmitz from the Illinois State Police to speak.
Director Leo Schmitz, the Illinois State Police. The 4th of July weekend is celebrated by many across the city, the state, and this nation. The Illinois State Police reminds motorists to celebrate responsibly. Our message is clear. If you drink and drive, you'll be arrested. This weekend, my troopers will focus on enforcing on the fatal 4 traffic violations: speeding, DUIs, seatbelts, and distracted driving. The state police will be conducting roadside safety checks, alcohol countermeasure enforcement patrols, and speed enforcement details throughout the whole state. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Our number one goal is to save lives. With the motoring public's contribution, our effort is to reduce crime and results in fewer crashes and hopefully 0 fatalities. Additionally, the Illinois State Police and the Chicago Police Department will be working on a joint 4th of July detail targeting high crime areas of the Chicago expressways and surrounding areas of those expressways. The mission will be supported by a cease detail personnel from the Illinois State Police and District Chicago State Police. Chicago Police Department will support the joint detail by using CPD officers from districts in and around that area. I'd like to express my appreciation to the Chicago Police Department, the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, and of course, my troopers, who I'm very proud, for their insistence in keeping the Illinois roadways safe. Thank you.
Parks, P-A-R-K-S. And like the director and the superintendent said, it's pretty much collaboration with the city of Chicago, to stop the violence in these areas. And the Cook County Sheriff's Police have been in collaboration for a couple years now, targeting the violent areas in Chicago. And we also have partnered with the state police and worked in the highways. So this weekend will be nothing new for us, just to walk hand in hand and try to stem the violence. So thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Rich Gaitis, Managing Deputy of Operations for the Chicago Office of Emergency Management Communications. I'm pleased to join our law enforcement partners today to discuss the coordination and preparation among city, state, and federal public safety agencies to ensure a safe and enjoyable holiday weekend for residents and visitors. This preparation includes hosting numerous meetings over the last month with representatives from the agencies here today, as well as a number of other city departments and partners. We have worked hard to put the right resources in place for the safety and security of the city. Additionally, OEMC will monitor events citywide throughout the course of the weekend. We are also activating our Emergency Operations Center on July 4th to bring all of the agencies involved to ensure timely communication, coordination, and response for the day-to-day activities as well as our special events. On any given weekend, especially in the summer, there are multiple events going on throughout the city, and this weekend is no exception. Some of the larger special events include Guns N' Roses concert at Soldier Field tonight and Sunday, July 3rd, baseball games on both sides of town on Monday, July 4th, fireworks at Navy Pier tomorrow night, July 2nd and the 4th. These events will draw large crowds and cause traffic impacts in the respective areas. In addition, street closures for the Taste of Chicago are already in place, and the public should plan accordingly when traveling downtown. As always, we strongly encourage taking public transportation. Finally, while we make every effort on behalf of the city to make it a fun and safe holiday weekend, we continue to ask the public to do their part and report suspicious activity by calling 911. Some unusual behavior or observations may be innocent. However, it's up to law enforcement to determine whether a situation warrants investigation. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a few questions. Say again. You know, listen, the crime in Chicago is just totally unacceptable. It's ridiculous. And, you know, that's why I'll tell you all this. Later on today, we're going to be announcing a major policy initiative that will help the Chicago police. It'll give the tools to the Chicago police that we really need to help stem some of this violence. So I'm going to be asking the citizens of Chicago to help me with this, but we'll talk more about that later on this afternoon. Well, we certainly hope so. You know, you can't predict what's in the mind of the repeat offenders that want to keep wreaking havoc in our neighborhoods. But what I can tell you is that it's unacceptable. I'm sick and tired, and I know that the people that live in those communities are tired of it. You know, so we have to do everything that we can to hold this group of people accountable for their actions. And, you know, if it takes 5,000 officers over the weekend, then it takes that. But we're certainly concerned about it. No, I'm confident. As a matter of fact, we are beefing up the visibility through the major thoroughfares throughout Chicago, including the airport. So you'll see officers there with tactical gear and high-powered weapons over there. So I think that every little bit helps, but I'm confident that we have what we need at the airports.
All right, guys, we're going to take you out of this press conference, take you live to Arlington, Texas, where a roller coaster is stuck. A roller coaster stuck in Arlington, Texas. We have breaking news, roller coaster stuck in Arlington, Texas. Again, guys, you're looking at live images coming in from Arlington, Texas. Arlington, Texas, a roller coaster stuck there. This is at Six Flags over Texas. A roller coaster is stuck, passengers are stuck, and they are trying to rescue the passengers from this roller coaster that's stuck. Here's an interesting tweet. Andrew Cook tweeted a photo of himself stuck on the ride. And you can see the rescue crew in the back. I'm going to go ahead and show this picture to you. There's a picture right there of Andrew Cook stuck on Shockwave. The ride is Shockwave at Six Flags over Texas. Again, according to a tweet from a passenger on this ride, the ride is Shockwave at Six Flags over Texas in Arlington, Texas. Shockwave is described as a steel roller coaster built right at the edge of the park. It is a roller coaster that is easily seen by passerbys on Interstate 30, this according to the ride's Wikipedia page. Its unique four-sided tube track is similar to the Mindbender roller coaster at Six Flags over Georgia. This ride opened in 1978. It was, at the time, the world's tallest roller coaster, but it lost that title within a few weeks. Interesting note, this ride had to temporarily close in 2004 because of a flood. It was then temporarily closed again in 2008 because of extensive remodeling. Earlier this year, in March, the Shockwave was among several rides announced by Six Flags to receive a virtual reality upgrade. Apparently, riders would have the option to wear Samsung Gear virtual reality headsets to create a 360-degree 3D experience while riding. Interesting. Now this ride starts with the lift hill going up 116 feet. A U-turn with a slight dip then immediately follows. The coaster goes down its first drop and into the back-to-back loops with peak forces of 5.9 G. Andy Cook tweeting a lot from the ride. Let's go ahead and pull up some of his tweets. We'll pull up his tweets in just a moment. Meanwhile, let's look at these live images, courtesy of our Fox affiliate out in Arlington, Texas. And for those of you just joining us, some background. We know, according to one of the viewers, or rather one of the riders on the ride, who's been tweeting during the rescue, that this is the Shockwave roller coaster at Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington. This ride opened in 1978, and at the time, it was the world's tallest roller coaster. However, it lost that title just a few weeks later. This roller coaster is one of the iconic coasters at the theme park, one that is easily visible from people driving by on Interstate 30. And for those of you just joining us, we're looking at aerials of a roller coaster rescue in Texas. Six Flags Over Texas. The ride is Shockwave. It's a steel roller coaster that was opened in 1978. At the time, it was the world's tallest roller coaster, but it lost that title within a couple of weeks. Now this roller coaster is 116 feet high with a drop of 105 feet. It goes of speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. We know that one of the riders, Andrew Cook, has been tweeting the experience of being stuck on the roller coaster, live tweeting the experience. We're going to go ahead and show you his tweets momentarily, and we'll have more news right here on News Now. Stay with us. All right, guys, I want to go ahead and show you some of the tweets coming in from Andrew Cook. He was on the ride himself. He'd have been tweeting since the ride got stuck on Shockwave at Six Flags. 32 minutes ago, he tweeted this.
Attention stations, Edgelot Channel 1, stepping away from
Andrew
the
Cook.
aerials over Six Flags Arlington, taking to Denver, Colorado.
Have been here about 15 minutes. Just said they're going to walk us down. Planning on walking us down. And so these are the photos coming in from Andrew Cook, who was on the ride. This wraps up our roller coaster rescue coverage. We're taking you live now to Denver, Colorado, to a Donald Trump rally. Looks like Sarah Palin speaking now.
And Democrats Obamacare, who give lip service to an oath in office, but really we can't even trust them right now to defend our rights. Look at the Second Amendment attacks recently. You know, after Obamacare's lie, did we not learn? His lie that, you like your doc, you can keep your doc. Now it's you like your Glock, you can keep your Glock. Well, after being beaten down and divided up, voters sought plans then to rebuild our United States. We looked for a builder. We found a builder. Trump looks up and he builds big. Ask yourself, what have his critics ever built? And Trump connects, an unabashed billionaire. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yet he still respects our hard hats and steel-toed boots. He knows that men in denim built this country, but DC suits and pantsuits destroy it. He gratefully shakes the skilled, calloused hand and hugs tight the essential blue collar. And he salutes in awe of sacrifice the American in uniform. It's connection through appreciation. He's not running because he's bedazzled by the trappings of office. No, sincerely, he is in awe of the beauty of all of you, of everyone willing to do their part to restore America, to make it great again. He's on the side of Joe Sixpack, where I come from, and he says to us, I worked hard, I succeed, I want you to succeed too. And knowing what it takes, he says, I want you to work And here's how we'll do it together to make America great again. And that is the fabric of America's character, woven by work ethic and dreams and drive. That's America. And that's what the media is missing, and what the group, many participants in the group I just spoke to, that's what they're missing. They don't get it. No, we defend him, media. We defend him because he defends us. Take those, the ugly, ugly charge of racism. This is so ridiculous. Trump has been covered in the spotlight for decades, years and years, showing so many of his friends and colleagues of every race, color, and creed, great relationships with them all. And see, the press knows that, because they're the ones who did the covering of him. And Trump was never called a racist until he decided to run against the Democrats. And that is the way, that's the way that the dirty side of this business works. Believe me. So now with him, we who are determined to clean up the crap spewed by hypocrites playing politics of personal destruction, no, together we call them out. We call out the liars because we're going to make America great again. And this movement is exactly that. And this movement is about the providence honored in our Constitution. Trump is with us in withholding the oath, swearing to uphold what it is that has created our declarations of liberty. Trump will put America's blueprint first to strengthen us, especially as we face existential threats that others would ignore. The biggest, most sinister threat, it's Islamic ideology, that is ISIS. That is the death cult. The death cult that isn't even acknowledged with accurate verbiage from leftists with their heads left in the sand. And despite all the bloody evidence of a ghastly dogma, Obama won't admit that Islam put the I in ISIS. It is a clash of civilization that is our long twilight struggle. But if you transplant to your shores a foreign population that is hostile to the very things that your country stands for, you won't have a country for long. You can't have peaceful democracy with people who hate democracy, or a culture respecting life with anyone who would love death more than life. And that's not hate speech, it's common sense. As is understanding that when someone screams allegiance to Sharia law and screeches Allah Akbar, death to America, he means you and yours. What does the left think that he means? Well, because of all this, the movement grew, with Americans really getting sick and tired of those accusations of being anti-legal immigrant. We are a nation so generous in humanitarianism. We've taken in 6 times more migrants than all of Latin America combined. We look up at Lady Liberty and we read, she is inviting the tired, the poor, the huddled masses. But we don't stop there. We keep reading. Read the rest. She's saying, welcome, you yearning to breathe free. Those who don't yearn for America's freedoms, sustained by following our rule of law, but instead yearn for child brides and female mutilation and killing all gays and non-believers and refusing assimilation and demanding that the American culture change into the culture that they claim they had to escape from. No, our national instinct to do good is beautiful, but that kind of humanitarianism, it's self-destructive. So too is straying from what we know works economically. Time-tested economic truths that have been able to build this country and allow us to be prosperous. We desperately need leaders who understand conditions that create wealth and that they will favor those conditions. And that's energy independence, and it's limited government, letting the private sector innovation soar. That creates opportunities. That's what creates jobs, and less entitlement mentality that is eroding America's work ethic. No, those time-tested economic truths, applying those and having a leader who understands it and has never been addicted to opium, other people's money. Opium is what we call it. Other people's money that politicians have been for too long addicted to. Not having that experience in the private sector to understand how to balance a budget. You know, those who are writing the paychecks and not taking from you and giving to others in really a socialist bent. Well, America wins by applying those time-tested economic truths that we know work. Right now, our nation, though, is not really winning. $20 trillion in debt with no end in sight, and enemies laughing at us, and allies not being able to trust us. We're going to get trampled if we just hire more of the same for more politics as usual. That's insane. Trump is winning because he will put you first, for Americans win again. It's why his rallies are all about winning. They're rowdy and they're fun and they're energizing. You've seen some of the left's rallies? Cranky, demanding, shrill. Vote for me. I make no sense and I'll never have to explain myself, but vote for me and you'll get all this free stuff. Those rallies? Hey, that's what happens when every kid gets a trophy. Speaking on behalf of so many Americans, Colorado, I can't thank you enough for being in the fight for what is right and wanting to find someone to serve for the right reasons, not expecting to make a penny off of us like too many politicians are doing today, but instead, with a servant's heart. You don't have to be doing this for us. We should be thankful. Thank you for putting up with some of the things that you have to put up with amongst our own tent. I'm glad the tent is growing, though. I'm glad the tent is growing with people understanding, these common sense, time-tested principles and truths that will make America great again. We'll apply those. We just needed that revolutionary who's in the right position to lead us to that. So it's really, really good to be among friends here today, Colorado. It is you fueling the movement to get us going in the right direction. The vigilant hopped on and shocked the political class because it was the disaffected majority that they had left behind. More are coming aboard, telling the driver, Mr. Trump, carry our standard into battle. We're silenced no more. Thank you, Colorado, from the bottom of my heart. God bless you and God bless the United States of America.
Please welcome again the chairman of the Western Conservative Summit, Jeff Hunt.
Wasn't that incredible? Sarah Palin. Wow. Wow. That was remarkable. She came 2 years ago and did a fantastic job. We wanted to bring her back. Thank you for such a warm welcome. But she just hit a home run. What a great, great speech. Very proud of her. Want to talk about a few things real quick, and then we'll keep going. This year, we're going to be doing the vice presidential straw poll. So in past years, we've done presidential straw polls, except for in 2012 when Governor Romney had the nominee. We did a vice presidential straw poll. The world wants to know who you think the next vice president of the United States should be. So during free time, go out to the lobby. There's 2 iPads out there. You can vote for who you would like to be Donald Trump's running mate, okay? And that's going to be big when we announce that. So we want to hear from you, so make sure you vote out there. That's very, very important. Also, we have our own Summit app. So make sure you download the Summit app. It's called Guidebook. And when you search in Google Play or the iPhone store, you can download Guidebook and then type in WCS16 as the passphrase, and you'll be able to download the Western Conservative Summit app. It has all the details about different breakout sessions, that type of information, so make sure you do that. I'm going to bring up, again, the Legacy Quartet, so please join me in welcoming Legacy.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, while we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain, America, to the prairie, America, to the ocean, America white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. My home, sweet home, sweet home.
That was great. Thank you, Legacy Quartet. On Saturday, we're going to honor Dennis Prager during the Stephen H. Long dinner on Saturday night. This is an annual award that we give out during our banquet dinner that's given to someone that provides exceptional visionary leadership in America. Dennis Prager is a nationally syndicated radio host, but he also created this YouTube channel called Prager University. Has anyone ever seen Prager University before? Yeah. We're going to show a video from Prager University because what Dennis has done with this YouTube channel is remarkable. Hundreds of millions of views all around small 5-6 minute clips that promote conservative values. He is shaping the culture. And shaping the culture is so critical to what we want to do. Writing a floor speech, arguing on the floor of the House or Senate is important, very important. But if we really want to advance conservatism, we have to get to what people consume freely. We need to go upstream of politics into culture. And we know this. Oftentimes, we battle against Hollywood because Hollywood pushes this liberal agenda that we sit back and we watch this with our kids and we go, what the heck is going on? So Dennis Prager has been challenging this and going against the culture by creating these little clips. And in a few minutes, we're going to show one of these clips, which is one of my favorites. It's by Dennis Prager, and it talks about the Ten Commandments and the impact of the Ten Commandments. So do we have Mr. Prager's video ready, team? I think they're loading it still. Mr. Trump's on his way.
No document in world history.
There we go. Thank you.
So changed the world for the better, as did the Ten Commandments. Western civilization, the civilization that developed universal human rights, created women's equality, ended slavery, created parliamentary democracy, among other unique achievements, would not have developed without them. As you will see when each of the Ten Commandments is explained, these commandments are as relevant today as when they were given over 3,000 years ago. In fact, they're so relevant that the Ten Commandments are all that is necessary to make a good world, a world free of tyranny and cruelty. Imagine for a moment a world in which there was no murder or theft. In such a world, there would be no need for armies or police or weapons. Men and women and children could walk anywhere at any time of day or night without any fear of being killed or robbed. Imagine further a world in which no one coveted what belonged to their neighbor, a world in which children honored their mother and father and the family unit thrived, a world in which people obeyed the injunction not to lie. The recipe for a good world is all there in these 10 sublime commandments. But there is a catch. The Ten Commandments are predicated on the belief that they were given by an authority higher than any man, any king, or any government. That's why the sentence preceding the Ten Commandments asserts the following: God spoke all these words. You see, if the Ten Commandments, as great as they are, were given by any human authority, then any person could say, who is this man Moses? Who is this king or queen? Who is this government to tell me how I should behave? Okay, so why is God indispensable to the Ten Commandments? Because, to put it as directly as possible, if it isn't God who declares murder wrong, murder isn't wrong. Yes, this strikes many people today as incomprehensible, even absurd. Many of you are thinking, is this guy saying you can't be a good person if you don't believe in God? Let me respond as clearly as possible. I am not saying that. Of course there are good people who don't believe in God, just as there are bad people who do. And many of you are also thinking, I believe murder is wrong. I don't need God to tell me. Now, that response is only half true. I have no doubt that if you're an atheist and you say that you believe murder is wrong, you believe murder is wrong. But forgive me, you do need God to tell you. We all need God to tell us You see, even if you figured out murder is wrong on your own, without God and the Ten Commandments, how do you know it's wrong? Not believe it's wrong, I mean know it's wrong. The fact is, you can't, because without God, right and wrong are just personal beliefs, personal opinions. I think shoplifting is okay, you don't. Unless there is a God, all morality is just opinion and belief. And virtually every atheist philosopher has acknowledged this. Another problem with the view that you don't need God to believe that murder is wrong is a lot of people haven't shared your view. And you don't have to go back very far in history to prove this. In the 20th century, millions of people in communist societies and under Nazism killed about 100 million people. And that doesn't count a single soldier killed in war. So don't get too confident about people's ability to figure out right from wrong without a higher authority. It's all too easy to be swayed by a government or a demagogue or an ideology, or to rationalize that the wrong you're doing isn't really wrong. And even if you do figure out what is right and wrong, God is still necessary. People who know the difference between right and wrong do the wrong thing all the time. You know why? Because they can. They can because they think no one is watching. But if you recognize that God is the source of moral law, you believe that He is always watching. So even if you're an atheist, you would want people to live by the moral laws of the Ten Commandments. And even an atheist has to admit that the more people who believe God gave them, and therefore they are not just opinion, the better the world would be. In 3,000 years, no one has ever come up with a better system than the God-based Ten Commandments for making a better world, and no one ever will. I'm Dennis Prager. Join Prager University, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for free at prageru.com.
Great. You can see why we gave Dennis Prager that award. He's pushing back on that. So if you do want to attend the banquet dinner Saturday night, you still can buy a ticket. Just make sure you go out to the Centennial Institute booth out there. You can still join us tomorrow night with Mr. Prager. Mr. Trump is on his way. We got word that he has landed and he's on his way. So we're just waiting for him to arrive. He's going to come straight in, no pictures. He's coming straight in to give the speech. So we'll get him out here as soon as he arrives here. In the meantime, we'll have the Legacy Quartet come back up and entertain us with some of their good music. Thanks.
We are so blessed to be here with you today. We are Legacy Quartet, and my name is Steve Taylor. I'm Dean of the School of Music at Colorado Christian University. And for the past 7 years, we have had the honor of being at every single summit. And this one, we are so excited about, and we're so glad of what the Lord is doing in our city, in our country, and at our university. So thank you so much for being here and for allowing us to be here with you. And anyone who's interested in music, I'd love to talk with you about the offerings we have at Colorado Christian University. This next song we'd like to do for you, I'm going to ask Doug Filter, our first tenor, to introduce.
So this is a song we do in some of our concerts all over the world, and we were just in South Korea back in November for our 7th tour. And it's crazy, but the South Koreans love Southern gospel music, which is what our primary genre is. And you know, the first time I went to South Korea, it was a little unnerving for me because culturally it just seemed super, super foreign to me. I didn't know what to expect. But when we got there, realized that they are wonderful, wonderful people, and they actually love America, which that was pretty awesome. And so we have much more in common than we do different. And we learn that we serve the very same God on this side of the planet or that side of the planet. They have issues just like we have issues. And we learn that through serving our Lord Jesus Christ, that He is our rock and He is our shelter in times of storm.
He's a rock. He's a rock. Jesus is a rock. He's a rock. A shelter in time of storm.
The Lord's our rock. In Him we hide. A shelter in the time of storm.
I will be secure, 'cause He's a rock.
Whatever ill betide.
A shelter in the time of storm. Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A shelter in the time of storm. He's my shelter.
Jesus is a rock. He's a rock.
He's a rock.
Of storm. Ba-da, ba-da-da.
We didn't practice this one. I'm sorry. But we can...
Let's do that again.
We'll just do it again. Yeah.
That's what happens when you haven't sung a song like that for a little while.
He's a rock.
He's a rock.
Jesus is a rock. He's a rock. A shelter in time of storm.
The Lord's our rock. In Him we hide. A shelter in the time of storm.
I will be secure, 'cause He's a rock.
Whatever ill betide.
A shelter in the time of storm. Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A shelter
in the time of storm.
He's a rock. Jesus is a rock. He's a rock. A shelter in time of storm.
The shade by day, defense by night. He's a shelter in the time of storm.
No fears, no
fears alarm, no foes affright.
A shelter in the time of storm. Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A shelter in the time of storm. He's my shelter. The raging storms may round us beat. He's a shelter in the time of storm. We'll never leave our safe retreat. A shelter in the time of storm. He's a shelter. Oh, Jesus. He's a rock. He's a rock. In a weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock.
In a weary land.
A shelter in the time of storm.
He's a rock. Jesus is a rock. A shelter in time of storm. He's a rock.
If we have the track, we're ready to go.
In New York Harbor stands a lady with a torch raised to the sky, and all who see her I think you'll like this one.
You place your hand upon his Bible when you swear to tell the truth. His name is on our greatest monuments and all your money too. And when we pledge allegiance, there's no doubt where we stand. There's no separation. We're one nation under him. In God we still trust. Here in America, he's the one we turn to every time the going gets rough. He is the source of all our strength, the one who watches over us. Here in America, in God we still trust. Now there are those among us who want to push him out and erase his name from everything this country's all about. From the schoolhouse to the courthouse, they're silencing his word. And now it's time for all believers to make our voices heard. In God we still trust. Here in America, he's the one we turn to every time the going gets rough. He is the source of all our strength, the one who watches over us. Here in America, in God we still trust. America, here in America, here in America, in God we still trust. Here in America, in God we still trust. Right here in America, in God we
Please welcome the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, Steve House.
Good morning. I expect this next hour to be relatively commercial free, but I thought I would like to start with a public service announcement, so here it is. I will follow future Senator Lieutenant Colonel Darrell Glenn into any fight he wants to fight to preserve a conservative Supreme Court. I believe in Darrell Glenn, and I know that he loves our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make America great again. This journey will be the ultimate test for free market principles. Our Creator gave us the greatest piece of real estate on this planet, so we should probably elect a president who knows something about real estate in order for us to leverage it into strong economic growth. By the way, it's not just real estate. It's real estate that holds the potential to solve our greatest problems because it has a vast array of minerals. It has timber and water and oil and gas. It has coal, the cleanest coal in the country, right here in Colorado. And we've got the soil to grow food in our agricultural industry, and we have many other advantages that we need to take advantage of. What we must do now is use those assets to solve our own problems first, and then negotiate how we trade with the rest of the world. Because you know what? It's always easier to negotiate when you're in a position of strength. Let's hire a great negotiator as President of the United States. A negotiator who understands that borders matter, and also what it means to have the better hand in a deal, so we stop giving away things that we don't need to give away and that ultimately hurt us, like giving nuclear weapons to a terrorist state called Iran. In this country, we have great universities and highly educated people, along with exciting entrepreneurs, and their talent can create amazing tools and technologies to increase our quality of life and fix some of the biggest healthcare problems. The next decade and a half in America will be the greatest period of innovation in our history. But it can only happen if we understand that America works best when entrepreneurs are trusted to create a better future for us, not stifled by onerous regulation. Guess what? We should hire an entrepreneur and a builder to be president. One who understands what I'm talking about and who knows that successful risk-taking and overcoming failure without a bailout is part of what made America great in the first place. And guess what we don't need? We don't need someone who has sat inside a political bubble their entire life and never created a private sector job. Okay, maybe hiring a guy to maintain an email server off the books is a private sector job, but I'm not going to count that one until the FBI holds her responsible for it. We also don't need someone who thinks a free market is something Bernie Sanders created to distribute textbooks and college tuition at no cost. My fellow Americans, we must boldly move forward because we can. That is who we are and how we confront problems. For the past 7 years, we've been timid, passive, reluctant to claim our leadership role in the world. Well, I'm here to tell you that time has passed. Now it's time for 300 million Americans to dream of the life they want, to pursue the things that make them happy, because you know what? It's the pursuit of happiness that leads someone to understand why life and liberty are so important. As Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon, said, "If I can go to the moon, what can't you do?" And I agree with Gene. The question now is, where will we decide to go, and who will lead us? I'm telling you that I believe we need a leader who understands the value of America's assets, one who can negotiate from a position of strength, one that has earned through that position of strength that has been earned by the sacrifices made by men and women who serve our nation so admirably. We need a leader who understands entrepreneurship and innovation, who has created private sector jobs and fought against the regulations that limit the success of inspired people. And you know what? We need a leader who's bold enough to let the world know that America is back. Because you know what? We will be better served and the world will be better served when we make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Colorado welcome to the next President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
For those who've abandoned hope, we'll restore hope and we'll welcome them into a great national crusade to make America great again.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
We begin with breaking news. Our NBC News decision desk has confirmed that Donald Trump has reached the number of delegates needed to clinch the Republican nomination for president.
The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. We are going to make our country great again. We're going to take our country back from these people. We're going to take it back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, if I knew they had these teleprompters, I would have used them. I'm starting to love those teleprompters. You know, it's interesting. It's much easier when you have a teleprompter, and I'm getting great reviews with the teleprompters. When you stand up and you just go at it, it's much more exciting, however. I want to tell you. I think this crowd, I know the folks from Colorado and they're wild. I think if I used a teleprompter with this crowd, they'd be out of here fast. They'd say, let's get out of here. So I just want to thank, this is a tremendous crowd. We really appreciate it. Set up pretty quickly. Wow. So Colorado taught me a lot about politics. I learned a lot because polls came out that I was going to win Colorado and doing really well in Colorado and look good, and I was looking forward to it. And then all of a sudden, I didn't get the delegates. I said, but what happened to the vote? Do you remember? And I started to learn. You know, quick learner. I'm a quick learner, but that was an amazing week. Do you remember that? And we had some of you folks probably were out there with a little picketing, a little craziness, and I think they'll probably end up changing. I think they're going to change it next year, and I think you're going to go out and actually vote. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you see what's happening, and I always say the system's rigged. It's rigged, and it's rigged against the people. It's not rigged for the special interest and the lobbyists and people that want certain things. I used to be one of them. Once I said I'm running, all of a sudden I was like an outsider, a big outsider. But I'm glad I did it, because you know what we have? We have a movement going on like they haven't seen maybe ever in this country, according to what the pundits are saying. And I tell the story where numerous people, Bill O'Reilly, not so long ago, a few weeks ago, said, it may be the single greatest political phenomena that I've seen in my lifetime. He was talking about his lifetime. And I said, wow, that's a lot of phenomena you've seen. But numerous other people have said it too. And here we stand, and there you stand and sit. Oh, you're able to sit. Oh, that's good. See, we supply chairs. How many people do that? Nobody else supplies chairs. Nobody else does that. Only Trump. Only Trump. That's good. These lights are so bright, I can hardly see who's out. That's a good crowd of people. Wow. That's great. And thank you. Thank you very much. But the system is rigged. And, you know, we went through the primary system, and we did have problems here because, you know, it wasn't a vote. And somebody said I did really well in the polls, and as soon as they saw how well I did in the polls, they went to a delegate system where they just appoint the delegates, and it's all right. It all worked out well. It all worked out well. You know what? In the end, it doesn't matter. Here we are, right? It doesn't matter. And you have some terrific people in the state, very smart, very good, and they're going to really be helping us in November and before November. But I know how hard they're working in Colorado, and we're going to have tremendous. I think we're going to have a tremendous victory here. A couple of things before I really get going. Colorado, NRA, they're like synonymous. The NRA endorsed me. We're going to save your Second Amendment, 100%. We're saving your Second Amendment. And I have to tell you, the NRA, these are terrific people. They're terrific people. They love the country. And they take a lot of heat. And they don't have the easiest job, I will tell you. But they love the country. Wayne and Chris and all of the other people I've met from the NRA. And they gave me, I think, the earliest endorsement they've ever given under these circumstances. And they gave me a very early endorsement. I was very honored by it. But I've gotten to know them. And they love our country. Okay? They love the Second Amendment, but they love our country. So you have to remember that about the NRA, because what they do is not easy. It's not easy. And they're saving the Second Amendment for you. So just remember that. And I'm going to be representing them very well in that regard. The other that we have to talk about is the evangelicals have been so amazing to me. We had an event the other day in New York, right? Any evangelicals in the room? Any evangelicals? But we had an event, and Ben Carson called me, who was a great guy. We love Ben Carson. And he called and he said, you know, Donald, I'd love you to get with the evangelical leaders and Christian leaders all throughout the United States. Not a big deal. It'll take you maybe 15 or 20 minutes. But maybe you could see them, and maybe, I think it's a good thing for you to do. Now, I've won with the evangelicals in many, many of the states, South Carolina and Nevada and like all over the place. We've had great, great success. The South, Alabama, Arkansas, all over. And we've had unbelievable relationships and unbelievable success. But Ben wanted me to do it. As you know, when Ben got out, and he did really well. He was tough. He was a great competitor. He did really, really well when he ran. And he got out, and he called me, and he said, I love what's going on. You have a movement going on. This isn't like a normal thing. This is a movement. I would love to endorse you. I said, Ben, I would love to have your endorsement. Plenty of people are calling saying, we want to endorse you, and it's never been that important to me. I will say this, Bobby Knight in Indiana was important, right? Bobby Knight was important. But I said, I'd love to endorse you. Then he comes up and he goes, I'd love to meet. Now, it's not a big deal, maybe 150, maybe 200 people. And they could be here in a month in New York, but it would be a great thing. So all of a sudden, the time comes, and my people come in. They say, Mr. Trump, you won't believe it. It's packed. I said, I'll believe it, because it's always packed. But it's the largest group of clergy, ministers, pastors, evangelicals, Christians, the largest group they've ever had by far, over 1,000. And they wanted to know, could we take 2 to 3 hours? So this was the 50. Ben is one of the greatest salesmen I know, right? He said, small group, 15 minutes. Turned out to be a large group, 3 hours. But it was an amazing event. It was an amazing, and I learned. But it was just an incredible group of people. Franklin Graham was there, and Jerry Falwell Jr. from Liberty College, who's a fantastic guy, and so many people, friends, real friends. Ralph Reed. We've had so many friends, and people that have really been helpful to me. And as an example, Liberty College, everybody goes through Liberty College, and we all make a speech. They have one of the most beautiful auditoriums, one of the most beautiful colleges I've ever seen, actually. And one of the most incredible auditoriums, and it holds 12,000 people, something like that. And I have the all-time record for attendance, which is really important. I got that 2 years ago, and I said, is it still intact? They said, yes, and I broke it this time. I said, good. That's good. And they had closed-circuit television because the room was too small, even as big as it was. In all the classrooms, all over the school, they had closed-circuit television. And we had an amazing time. And to get the support, and everybody went there. I think every candidate went there. and because of what it represents, such importance. And what happened is, in the end, Jerry calls, he says, you know, I want to endorse you. And that had such a huge impact because he's so respected. The school is so respected, the college, the university, so respected. And getting Jerry's support was such a great thing for me. So I just wanted to thank him, but I wanted to thank everybody because that was an amazing day we had about a week ago in New York City. It was packed and it was full of love. I will tell you that. It was full of love. So we'll talk for a little while about what's going on. I'm going to tell you some of the ideas that we want to have. I wrote down some notes in the plane because I didn't know I had this glass standing up here. In fact, it says right now, number 1, number 2. That's not meant for me. I want to thank Sarah Palin for being here because Sarah's great. Well, Sarah's a special person, and Sarah's another one where it came out of the blue. And she liked what I was saying, and she was also close with many of the other people that were running. And the word came back to me that Sarah was very interested, and we called her. And I can tell you there were very, very disappointed people that I was running against, on the Republican side I'm talking about. And they were very, very disappointed when Sarah came out for me. I'll tell you, that was a big event. And she's so loyal and so amazing, and her family is so amazing. Her husband's an incredible guy. And for her to come here again and to say hello to you folks is just really something special. So I really appreciate that Sarah Palin was able to come here. So I wrote some notes now. Sarah has a big group. We do love Sarah, right? Look at that. Wow. I'm not surprised. For good reason, by the way. So I want to give you some of the goals just quickly and easily, and you'll understand what they are. But, you know, the other night on television, I was looking, and certainly terrorism's actually number 2, I was surprised. It'll probably be number 1 pretty soon, because what's going on today in Israel, there was a horrible killing, and then there was another horrible killing in Oregon, and there was another one. I mean, what's going on now is unbelievable. People that shouldn't be allowed in, people that shouldn't be here. And we're going to have strong borders, folks. We're going to have strong borders. We're going to have the wall. And we're going to let people come into our country that should come into our country, and they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally. And we want them to come in, but they're going to come into our country legally. But one of the things I noticed, because it was on one of the networks, where they had them listed in order, and actually they had the economy number 1, and I'm number 1 on the economy. That's good. And in fact, Rasmussen just came out with a poll yesterday afternoon, and Trump is number 1. I'm up 4 points. Can you believe? That's nice. We're going to do very well. We're going to do. You know, in the primaries, one after one, bing, bing, bong, bing, and people said, what happened? Just one after another. And, you know, we have the right message. And I'm just the messenger. I'm doing a good job as a messenger, I will say, okay? But I'm just a messenger, believe me. It's what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying about what's going on. And it's getting stronger. I think the message is getting stronger. We're being destroyed by trade, which we'll talk about. We're being destroyed at our borders, which we'll talk about. And we're allowing people to come into our country from Syria and other places that shouldn't be allowed to come into our country. We have no idea who they are, where they're from. We have no idea what's going on. They have no paperwork. They have no documentation. They could be ISIS. I used to say they're probably not, but now I say many of them probably are. You see what's happening in Germany. You see what's happening in Sweden. You see what's happening in some of these countries where they're taking them in. It's a nightmare. And I have a bigger heart than anybody, or as big as anybody in this room. And I will tell you, we're going to do safe zones in Syria. We're going to get other people to pay for them. The Gulf states have a lot of money. People don't ask them to pay. Trump is going to ask them to pay. You're going to have to pay. And we'll get it done. Believe me, we'll get it done. So one thing I just wanted to say, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Healthcare was third on the list. And honestly, I was surprised to see it. Health care on this list. It was the economy, it was terrorism, and it was health care, which tells you something. You know, in Texas, they go through Blue Cross Blue Shield. They had a 60% increase. You're going to have an increase like you've never seen before on November 1st. Now, they're trying to delay the increase till after the election. We can't let that happen because this increase is an election-changing increase. Now, I hope we don't even need that. But this is an election-changing increase that you're going to get. I'm hearing numbers like higher than the numbers in Texas. So 60% in Texas, going through Blue Cross, Blue Shield, you got the Obamacare, 60% increase, think of it, unimaginable. Well, it's also horrible because your premiums are going up, your deductibles are through the roof, and unless you die a really, really severe long-term death, you're not going to use it because your deductibles are so high. Your deductibles are through the roof, and people don't even get to use it. So they're paying more than ever, and they don't get to use it. And we're going to change that. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, and we're going to get something so much better and so much less expensive. Okay. I already talked about the fact we're going to save the Second Amendment, right? That's a biggie. We're going to eliminate job-killing regulations. The regulations in this country are killing us. We're going to have massive tax reform and simplification, a big lowering of the taxes, the biggest of anybody by far. Hillary Clinton is raising your taxes. She's raising your taxes substantially, and there won't be simplification. We're lowering your taxes. You watch what's going to happen with the economy. We're lowering your taxes, big league, and tremendous simplification. We're lowering business taxes. We're going to allow money. We have trillions of dollars outside of the United States owned by really the corporations have this money. They can't get it back into the country. And everybody agrees, Republicans, Democrats, that it should come back in. They can't make a deal. That's a deal that would take 5 minutes sitting around a room. But there's no leadership. So we have trillions of dollars. Who would not want to make that deal? They say $2.5 trillion. I say it's over $5 trillion. But whatever it is, it's massive. And companies, corporate inversion, companies are leaving the United States because taxes are too high, but they're also leaving to get their money. They can't get their money back in, so they leave to get their money. So it's crazy. We're going to appoint Supreme Court justices who you're going to be very happy with. Such a big thing. And these are justices that will uphold the Constitution of the United States and fully uphold it, right? And you know what's going to happen, and I sort of get a kick. You have these people. Look, it was a tough campaign. It was a brutal campaign. Some of the people that do this professionally said it was the most brutal campaign in the history of politics in this country. I don't know if that's true or not, but we started off with 17 people, and there were a lot of bad things said, and there was one person that came out, and I understand. I understand. But they were really nasty to me, and I was really nasty to them. And some of them just can't understand the importance of a victory for the Republicans. And one of the best things we can say are the judges, because, we can talk about the strong military. We're going to do all of the things. But the judges, we're going to appoint at least 3. You have Scalia, who is great. And who would have thought that was going to happen? That wasn't going to be for many years. And all of a sudden, Justice Scalia was gone. So you have that one before you start. And then you probably have 2 more. You could even have 3. And you could even have 4 more. I mean, frankly, you got a lot. Probably going to be a record in the history of this country for a president. Could have as many as, you could have, including Justice Scalia, you could have as many as 5. Probably we'll have 3. But that's the difference between having our country as a great country and having Venezuela, okay? And you see what's happening over there. Believe me. Where they're fighting over loaves of bread in the street. I mean, that's a tremendous thing. And what I did, because I've only been doing this for 12 months, so what I've done, in fact, they said one of the articles had, it was 211 years of experience. You know, they added up everybody. They had 211 years versus 11 months. And look who won. Isn't that good? I mean, don't we get credit for that? I think experience is a great thing, but I think we're getting tired of the experience because the experience wasn't working, folks, right? But because of the fact that I haven't been out there as a politician, people know me, but I haven't been out there as a politician, a lot of people have said to me, Senator Sessions, who's a fantastic man, and others, they've said, it wouldn't be bad. And I actually went in with the idea because I was getting criticized. They said, well, what happens if he appoints judges that we don't like? So I went to the Federalist Society, which is sort of the gold standard. Now, Hillary Clinton said the gold standard of trade deals is TPP. Now she's taken that back. You saw that, right? When you mentioned TPP will destroy you, folks. It will destroy. It'll take any vestige that we still have left in our country. It will destroy you. And she said it. Now, what happened is when she heard me being very critical of it, she realized I was right. So she said now she's against it, but she's going to approve it in 2 seconds if she ever won. And that will be as bad or worse than NAFTA, which was, by the way, signed by her husband, okay? So it will be. So I went out and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick 10 judges or 11 judges, and we'll see what happens. And I picked 11, gotten from the Federalist Society, run through by a lot of great politicians that I know that are highly respected, senators and congressmen and great people, and loved. Went through Heritage, who's great, Jim DeMint and the group, who's a great guy. Jim is a great guy. We like Jim. Listen to you people. Wow. He is a great guy. Then we ran him through Heritage, and these are 11 people. I think I'm going to pick 4 more. So I have 15, and I'll pick from that list or people like that, exactly like that. And we're going to have great judges. And it had a big impact. But you still have people out there, and it's just one of those things. You know, one of the things I'm most proud about is that in the history of the Republican Party, with 17 people running, I had the most votes of anybody that's ever run in the primaries. We had almost 14 million votes. Think of it. Won 37 states. Next time it's going to be Colorado, by the way. Colorado is not in that 37. Don't worry. If it was, I'd still be here today. But we had 37 states, and we had the largest number of votes. Now, when you think about it, almost 14 million votes, and it wasn't even close. Ronald Reagan, who we love. You have the Bushes. You have Dwight D. Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, everybody. You have everybody. Just so much more than anybody else. Wasn't even close. But think of it. They would run against 2 people, 1 person, 4 people. When you break that record and you're running against 17 very capable people, that's really a record that is pretty amazing, more amazing than even just winning. So I was very honored by that. We're going to protect our country from terrorism. Okay, folks? We're going to protect our country from terrorism. We are going to be so tough. We are going to be so smart and so vigilant. And we're going to get it so that people turn in people when they know there's something going on. Like in San Bernardino, people saw bombs all over these people's floors. They had bombs all over the floor. They saw it. People saw it. And they talked about racial profiling and profiling. We didn't want to turn them in because we didn't want to get accused of profiling. Give me a break. You know what that is? That's a lawyer telling them, listen, you better say that because otherwise you're in big trouble. But people have to turn people in. And if they don't turn them in, we're going to have so many of these things. What happened in Orlando is disgraceful. Disgraceful that a thing like that can happen. And then they don't want to mention what happened. We have a president that doesn't want to mention what really happened. It's called radical Islamic terrorism, right? That's what happened. And you have crooked Hillary Clinton that didn't want to mention it either, but we shamed her into it, but she still hasn't mentioned it. She said, I will say, and then she didn't quite use the expression the way it should be. But I will say radical Islam. I will say it. Okay? But she's never said it yet. She said she will say it because we shamed her into it. Just like we shamed her into going against TPP. Was that the only reason she didn't do it? She'll do it, but not for the election, because people are sick and tired of being ripped off with our jobs leaving our states, with our jobs leaving our country, with the money. They get the money, they get the jobs, we get nothing. We get unemployment. That's what we get. We get unemployment and no taxes. And folks, we can solve that situation so easily. That situation is so easily solved. I've been watching for a long time, and I've been watching it very, very closely, how the government is trying to stop jobs from leaving our country. I left yesterday in New Hampshire, where I see building after building just got wiped out. New England, one of the worst places in terms of that. Upstate New York, a disaster. Pennsylvania, a disaster. Maryland, Connecticut, all states that I won in massive numbers. I mean, I had a series of states, 5 or 6 states in a row, where I won every single county in every single state. A lot of that, thank you. You know, starting with New York and starting with all of these great states, and there was love. I went to West Virginia, and Hillary said, we're going to put the miners out of business. We're going to put the mines and the miners out of business. She then went, got a couple of miners back then. She then went to West Virginia. Can you believe it? And she apologized, but the statement was made, folks. That's what she's going to do. These are liars. These are liars. She tried to convince people. She tried to convince people that what she said she didn't mean. Let's go. Remember, she was sitting down with a coal miner in West Virginia whose family's been devastated. And I had we had an event in West Virginia, and it was very interesting, because after I won New York, for some reason, I said, we're going to put the miners back to work. And I didn't say it even for a reason. I didn't even know which was next, and West Virginia was going to be on the list. But West Virginia, we have such a lead. I think we have a 25 or a 29-point lead in West Virginia, as an example, and in other places. In other places. We're doing great in Pennsylvania. We're doing great in Ohio. We're doing great sort of everywhere, much better than the press would have you believe, although the polls have really gotten much tighter in the last few days. But, I mean, much, much tighter. So we're going to win what? Colorado. We got to win this one. Man. Oh, if we lose this. But, and we do have to win Colorado. I'll be back a lot. Don't worry about it. I'll be back a lot. It's going to be, I mean, I see the poll. We're either even or 1 point up in Colorado, so we got to lift that up a little bit. But we're going to be back. We'll be back a lot. No, it's very important. It's a very important state in terms of winning the election. A very, very important state. We have states where, you know, we have a tremendous lead and where they have a tremendous lead. One of the things that's happening with us is that we play, meaning us, meaning me, play in a lot of states that a Republican, more traditional Republican, doesn't play. We're going to do great in states like Michigan. I think we're going to do great. They've been devastated by job loss. They've been devastated. I think we're going to do great in Illinois. Normally a Republican, if somebody else won, they would never go to Illinois. I'm going to spend a lot of time in Illinois. I'm going to spend a lot of time in Michigan. I think we're going to win. I've been talking about cars moving to Mexico, car companies, Ford, moving to Mexico for 2 years, long before I even knew we'd be in this position. Nobody has been better to the state of Michigan and to the car industry than me in terms of what I'm saying and what I'm going to do to get the car companies back, number one, and to keep them from moving, because they're going to continue to move like you've never seen before if I don't win. We're going to have job loss like you've never seen ever before if I don't win. So I think we're going to play great in Michigan. Even in Connecticut, there was a poll that came out. This is a state that I love. I have so many friends that live in Connecticut. But this is a state that a Republican, a traditional Republican, would never spend one afternoon in terms of getting votes. And I'm going to spend a lot of time in Connecticut. And we may even give a shot to New York and California, because we have tremendous crowds. We're getting 30, 35,000 people going to these places. So we're going to play in a lot of states that normally, obviously, Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida, those are your states that everybody says you have to win, you have to win. But I think we have a lot more leeway than anybody else running for office from the Republican Party, and I think we're going to do great in these places. We want to uphold, totally uphold, the rule of law, not being upheld, okay? We want to cut down on the unbelievable crime that's pouring in and the crime rate generally, okay? We want to keep our children safe. We want to keep ourselves safe, but we have to. We have to. So many friends of mine, Jamil, as an example, Shaw, his son was killed by a person that came into this country, an illegal immigrant, should have never, ever been here. Kate, as you remember from San Francisco, shot viciously by somebody that was sent out of the country 5 times and will probably get off. I see the lawyer, and they're saying, oh, maybe it wasn't him, and oh, it's terrible. It'll go on for years and years and years, what happened to Kate, and so many others, so many others. And we're going to have a country where we can be free to walk around and free to walk the streets and free to look at the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge with your father, like Kate was doing, and then shot from nowhere. We're going to have a country that's going to be safe again. Just remember that. We're going to have a country that's going to be safe. And we're not going to play games. We're not going to be politically correct, perhaps. But we're going to have a country that's going to be safe. We're going to make our government so important, responsible to the people, not to the special interests. The special interests control your government, folks. The special interests. I mean, you see what happened today where Bill Clinton goes in the other day into an airplane. Just happened to be, just a coincidence, you know. He just happened to be at the airport at this time. Think of it. Just happened to be at the airport. You know, when I first heard the story, I said, no, you're kidding. I don't believe it. I thought somebody was joking. But it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's a very serious thing. And to have a thing like that happen is so sad. And as you know, Hillary is so guilty. She's so guilty. I mean, you can read them right off here. And how that's not being pursued properly. And I think that he really opened it up. He opened up a Pandora's box, and it shows what's going on, and it shows what's happening with our laws and with our government. But if you think that he just happened to be at the airport, because nobody really, and he may have, and honestly, he may have left and gone someplace, but it seems like, you know, he's talking about golf and grandchildren. I love my grandchildren so much. But if I talk about them for more than about 9 or 10 seconds, you know, I love my grandchildren. I love that one. I love that one. I love that one. And look at the beautiful, I love these kids. After that, what are you going to say, right? I love those kids. They're the great 8. I love them. I love my children. I love my children. My children are going to be speaking at the convention. My children are all going to be speaking. Ivanka, Tiffany, Don, Eric, they're going to be speaking. My wife is going to be speaking at the convention. We're going to have a great time. And then you have to talk about golf for the rest of the time. And, you know, I love golf, but after talking for a couple of minutes, it's hard to talk about it much longer than. And above all, what we're going to do, so important, we're going to put America first. I have to say it. We don't put America first. We don't put America first. We don't put America first. And we have to. So when we look at what's going on in our country, and when we see all of the mistakes that are being made, and we see all of the corruption and all of the horrendous politicians, and by the way, I have to tell you, some great politicians too. I've met some people that are great people. These are great people, and they love the country, and they're there for the right reasons. But you meet so many that aren't. You just meet so many that aren't. And we do deal in a rigged system. It's a rigged system. And I learned so much during the primaries. I won, as an example, I won in New Orleans. I went to make a speech. Louisiana. I was in New Orleans, made a speech. I then went into Louisiana, flew into the airport in Louisiana. There was this massive hangar, and it was the night before the election. And I gave a speech, and it was just great. We had so many, thousands and thousands of people. The airport, the hangar was packed. It was a massive room, probably 4 times bigger than this room. It was packed. And that was the night before the election. I said, how can I lose? How can I lose? And I didn't lose. I won. And I wasn't expected to win. You know, I won a lot of things that I wasn't expected to do. And I won. Easily, but I won. And everything was good. And then about 2 weeks later, they're showing delegate counts to me. Sir, you did this, you did this, you did that. I said, oh, that's good. What about this one? That's wrong because I won that state, right? Yes, sir, you did. But I have less delegates than the people that lost. And that's when I realized it's rigged, folks. It's rigged. But I got smart fast. I got smart very fast. And one of the things that we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on more than almost anything because, look, we need safety. We need borders. We're going to have the wall. We're building the wall, and the wall is necessary. And we're going to have a great relationship with Mexico. It's going to be very important. But we're going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. You understand that. No, they're going to pay for the wall. And we're going to have trade, and we're going to have lots of good things happen with Mexico. Mexico doesn't like us right now. Mexico doesn't respect our leaders. Remember Sergeant Tamburisi? Remember? They couldn't get him out of prison, right? Greta was very helpful. I think I was helpful. At least I helped them. But couldn't get him out. And he was there for a long time, long time, in one of the meanest, worst prisons in the world, they say. Horrible place. We couldn't get him out. Should have gotten him out. I'm not sure the president even made a phone call. I will tell you something. When things like that happen, if I'm president, I know they say, oh, it's not presidential, you shouldn't do that. But things like that happen, if I'm president, I promise you, I'll be making phone calls, folks. I'm going to be making phone calls. I mean, I'm not really sure that he ever even made a phone call. Certainly, there was no rush. It's sort of like the horrible deal that we made with Iran. Iran has become a power. We have made, over the last few years, between Hillary Clinton and John Kerry, it was one of the worst negotiators I've ever seen. How about he goes out and he breaks his leg in a bicycle race? Can you believe this? He's in the middle of negotiating the deal. And he's got all this stuff on. He's got the whole deal, the companies, the whole deal, the helmet. He's got everything going. I promise you, I swear to you, I will never be in a bicycle race during a major negotiation. I promise. Never. But how about that deal? And if you look, Iran was a country that was in deep trouble. They were doing badly. And then we took the sanctions off. And we should have never taken the sanctions off before we finished the deal. We took the sanctions off before. You know why they're great negotiators? They said, we will not negotiate unless you take the sanctions off. And our guys said, okay. That's what they say. And when they said that, why didn't we say we want our prisoners back? Okay? Because our prisoners were there for years after that started. It's like 101, Trump, the art of the deal, right? 101. We say, okay, and we took the sanctions off. We got nothing for that. They agreed to sit down. They were dying. They were choking. And instead of saying, we'll take the sanctions off, but there's two things. Number one, you got to release our prisoners right now. Number two, we're not going to give you $150 billion back, okay? We're not giving it back. And they're going to say, no way, no way. You know, they're great negotiators. The Persians are great negotiators. They're going to say, no way. In a million years, no way. Then you leave. See, Kerry never got up and left, right? Never got up and left. Then you leave, and by the time you get back to the United States, don't even get off the plane. It's going to turn around and go back. You'll have your prisoners, and you won't have to pay the $150 billion back. So sad. Because I'm all for making deals. I think it's great. You know, to make deals on nuclear is a good thing, not a bad thing. But you got to make good deals. This is a deal that's ruinous to Israel, in my opinion. I think this deal is a disaster for us, but it's a disaster, and even a bigger disaster for Israel. So we're going to have great deals made. We're going to make smart deals. If you think about it, so you had Iran, which was choking, which had they were literally going to bust up. I mean, they were at a point where they were going to remember the riots, and then Obama gave the regime solace, and they just took care of those riots so easily. There was a time when that could have all changed. It could have all changed. So instead, we have a power, a real power that's fighting us. How about we make a deal? They're in Yemen. We're fighting them in Yemen. We make a deal, but we don't make a deal. We don't talk about Yemen. And when asked about why we didn't discuss Yemen, because we're fighting Iran on the other side, right? We're going like this. Well, why didn't you put that into the deal? And Kerry said it was too complicated. What's complicated? What's complicated? We're giving all this stuff away. And they'll have nuclear weapons. They can buy nuclear weapons with the money they have. They become a real power. And now they're on the side of Assad. And, that whole debate we'll have to talk about because, I disagree with a lot of the things that a lot of people have been saying about the Middle East and about what we're doing. It was very interesting. We spend tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amounts of money protecting other nations that are very, very wealthy. Japan, Germany, Saudi Arabia, South Korea. We spend money. In South Korea, we have 28,000 soldiers on the line between them and the madman, right? We have 28,000. Every time he acts up, we start sending our ships, our planes, our boats. You turn on one of those ships, it costs you $2 million, right? I would say, don't turn on the engine. Save the money. Don't, please. The captain would say, sir, would you like to hear the engine? I'd say, if it was me, I'd say, no, just save the money, relax. The engine's fine. But it's true. It's true. I mean, that's what they are. It's a different thinking, right? A lot of business people in here, it's a different thinking. There's so much waste. There's so much fraud. There's so much abuse. So we spend all of this money, and I don't want to see them armed, ideally. I don't want to see them armed. But you always have to be prepared to walk, like Kerry should have walked with Iran. He should have walked, and then he should have said, double up the sanctions, and believe me, you'll be back there within 2 days, all right? And most of that's flying time. No, that's what he should have. But you have to be prepared to walk. He never walked, okay? So he never walked. So what happened with Kerry and what happens with all of us is we have the wrong people. We have the greatest negotiators in the world. Anywhere in the world, we're the greatest negotiators. But we don't use them. We use political hacks. So with Germany, with Japan, with Saudi Arabia, which has nothing but money, if we weren't protecting Saudi Arabia, Turkey, are you from Turkey, sir? Good, congratulations. I actually have a very nice job in Turkey. He's saying, please mention Turkey. Okay. I think he's friend. Are you friend or foe? Huh? I think he's friend. But no, it's true, Turkey, and I do. We have investments in Turkey. I have investments at a lot of different places. But I will tell you, and Turkey, by the way, should be fighting ISIS. I hope to see Turkey go out and fight ISIS, because ISIS has, in a certain sense, taken very serious advantage of Turkey. They've taken advantage, and Turkey has a tremendously powerful military, and they could wipe ISIS out by themselves. I would love to see that. How would we love to see that? Because it looks like it was ISIS that did all the damage in the airport. That was Turkey. So I think Turkey is all of a sudden going to change and say, that's enough for this. And Turkey has the power to do it, and they have the power to do it all by themselves. They could do it, and they could do it pretty swiftly, too. So with all of these countries, we pay for the military, big portions, disproportionately. So I said, we have to get them to pay us. And I have a very good plan. I was right on NATO. You know, when I first when they asked me about NATO, and I first said my statement, it's obsolete, and they don't cover terrorism like they should. And on top of that, the countries of NATO aren't paying what they're supposed to be paying. It was on television. Everybody smiled. Oh, that's so funny. Funny. Like we're a joke. Funny. Then about 4 days later, they said, you know, Trump was sort of right. You have these people that study NATO, but they're so close to it. They're so totally close to it. They can't see the forest for the trees. Does that make sense? So about 4 days later, they said, you know, I said NATO's obsolete, and they don't have terrorism the way it should have. They don't even have the right countries for terrorism, actually. But they don't have terrorism as a big thing. And we're paying for so much, and a lot of these countries aren't paying what they're supposed to be paying, many of them. So we're protecting all these countries. They're not even paying us what they're supposed to be paying, and that's too little. So I made that statement, and I'm telling you, for 3 or 4 days, it was like Donald Trump doesn't know. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert on NATO. Nobody ever asked me about NATO before. But I have a lot of common sense, and I have a lot of business sense. I built this great company. I built an unbelievable company. I have business sense. So 3 or 4 days later, all of a sudden, they start saying, you know, what Trump just said makes a lot of sense. Gee, So 2 weeks ago, I pick up the Wall Street Journal, and on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, headline, NATO to develop new unit for terrorism. That's what I told him. And then it announced one of the top people in the world, it is NATO, right? But one of the top people to be put in charge. Okay? I said, that's what I said. Now, my name was mentioned in the bottom. They said, Donald Trump complained. Oh, great. I didn't complain. I said NATO is obsolete because of that. That didn't mean abandon NATO. It didn't mean anything. Either you fix it or you have to develop something having to do with terrorism, but it's obsolete. We have a different world today than we had 40 years ago and 60 years ago. We have a different world. Even the Soviet Union is now Russia, but let's say Russia's damn strong, so leave it for that. But you know what? It's a different world. And I see things that a lot of people don't. I said, take the oil. You shouldn't. I also said, don't go into Iraq. It's a big mistake. You're going to destabilize the Middle East. They went in. But I also said, don't go out the way we went out. We just went out. President Obama announced we're going to be out by a certain date. The only thing deceptive about that was the enemy said nobody would have said that. So I don't think they believed it. And then the date happened, we left. And, you know, this all led to the formation of ISIS and lots of other things. But I said, when you go out, take the oil, right? How long have I been saying that? For years. And, you know, on television, they say, before I did that, they say, what is your plan? What is a plan? I said, I don't want to really say, because I have a really good chance of being elected. And I don't want to talk about it. You know, General Patton didn't sit on television and say, let's see, on July 16th, we're going to attack ISIS from behind. Were they going to knock out a battalion over here, and we're going to drop so many bombs at this quadrant, and we're going to get, here's my plan. And by the way, everything, do you ever notice? Everything we do, it's always hard because we always have to say. So I say to the television people, I don't want to really tell you. I was on Bill O'Reilly the other night. I said, Bill, I don't want to really talk about it. Believe me, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS. I don't want to really too much talk about it. But here's the problem. You got to get elected, so you got to talk about it. It's a little defective. You got to get elected, so you got to talk about it. So I said I'd go in with NATO, and I'd make NATO do something. And I'd go in, and I'd also get all of the countries around there that are really involved and have to be involved. And I'd go, and you got to clean it up, because these people are chopping off heads. They're drowning people. We're not allowed to waterboard, right? We can't waterboard. They're allowed to chop off heads. They're allowed to drown people. I said the other day, when they go home and they're together and they just chopped off 50 heads, drowned 200 people, and then they say, in the United States, they don't allow waterboarding. They think we are so stupid. They think we are so weak. They have no respect for us whatsoever. And remember this. The only thing they understand is strength. They don't understand kindness. They don't understand political correctness. The only thing they understand is strength and toughness. And we're weak. We're weak. And Hillary is weak as you get. Hillary is a weak person. She's a weak person. They will not understand Hillary. They want her to get in so badly. The last person they want to see become president of the United States, believe me, is Donald Trump. I can tell you that. It's the last person. They have dreams at night, and their dreams are that Hillary Clinton becomes president of our country. Believe me. So we need to show toughness. We need to show strength. We have to level the playing field. We don't have a level playing field. We don't fight to win anymore. We don't win anymore. We don't win with the economy. We got China ripping us off. We have Japan ripping us off. We have Mexico beating us at the border, beating us on trade, taking all of our companies. I mean, they're taking tremendous numbers of companies. It's unbelievable. I think one of the reasons I won Indiana is that the air conditioning company, Carrier, announced they were leaving. They're going to fire 1,400 people who went to my speeches. They were all over the place. Every time I said, who's here from Carrier? All these hands would be raised. 1,400 people fired viciously and stupidly because Carrier was moving, and they're from Indianapolis. Carrier was moving to Mexico. I think it had a huge, because I won. You remember that was going to be the firewall for the other people that were running against me. And it was a firewall for me. I won with a landslide, right? Now, having Bobby Knight helped a lot. But I will tell you, they and New York and New England and every place, Pennsylvania, big league, we have our companies leaving. So that happens. We're going to stop that. We're going to stop that cold. And we're going to be so strong. And we're going to be so smart. And we're going to start winning again. We're going to start winning like we have never won before. We don't win anymore as a country. We don't win for our vets. We're going to take care of our vets, by the way. We don't win for our vets. We don't win for anything. We don't win for our pride. We don't win anymore. And it's going to stop. We're going to be victorious in so many different ways. As an example, Common Core. We're bringing our education back locally. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're going to bring our education local. Our education system is a mess, and a big reason is Common Core. So we're going to start winning again, folks. We're going to win with our military. We're going to win for our vets. We're going to win with education. We're going to win with healthcare. We're going to win big, big, big with trade. We're not going to have these deficits of $500 billion a year losses. We have with China $505 billion a year. They laugh at us. And everyone talks about free trade. I was asked the other day, they said, well, what's your, I know free trade so much. I know free trade, fair trade. I can give you 20 different names, okay? They said, well, what's your definition? What do you like? I said, I like trade where we make great deals for the United States. That's what I like. That's my definition. That's my definition of trade. I know every form of trade. I know every form of taxation. We're going to make great deals for the United States. We have the greatest negotiators in the world. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We're going to make great deals for the United States. So we're going to bring our money back. We right now owe China $1.8 trillion. We owe Japan $1.6 trillion. Think of it. Japan sends us millions of cars, and we owe them $1.6 trillion. You know what I call that? A magic act in reverse. It's like a magic act. So, folks, we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much that the people of Colorado are going to be sick of winning. You're going to say, oh, I can't stand it. This guy, this president, he wins too much. We're not used to it. We can't take it. And your representatives and our great head of the Republican Party, who is a great guy, by the way, and I thank you for introducing me, I'm going to get calls in the White House. Mr. President, please, sir, please, we don't want to win this much. We're winning too much. My people in Colorado are going crazy. We just don't want to win. Not that much, just a little bit. I'll say, no way. We're going to win, 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 and we're going to make America great again, okay? So I want to thank you all. I love you, folks. Get out there. Get out there and vote. We got to get out there and vote. And I want to thank you. Thank you, everybody. I love you, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is Colorado Trump country? Wow, what a treat. What a morning. And we're just getting started. So we're going to break now for lunch. I do want to make some very important announcements.
All right, guys, that was Donald Trump speaking live in Denver, Colorado. If you want to watch that in full, it will be on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Fox10Phoenix. It should be uploaded in just a little bit, so if you want to rewatch it, you can do so there. I actually want to take you to breaking news out of Bangladesh. Apparently, there is a hostage situation. Hostages taken at a bakery in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We're going to take you there live now, so let me go ahead and pull this up for you while I work to get more information.
আরেকটা বিষয় আপনাদেরকে জানিয়ে রাখতে চাই তাম্মি যে সেটি হলো যে সালাউদ্দিনের মৃত্যুর সময়টি কয়টার সময় আমি হয়তো সেটি আপনাদেরকে আরেকটু পরে ওর বিস্তারিত বলতে পারবো যে তার এই তার যে মৃত্যুর খবরটি যেটি আমাদেরকে চিকিৎসক জানিয়েছেন সময়টি কখন আমরা অনুমান করে ধরে নিতে পারি। চিকিৎসকের সঙ্গে যার আমার কথা হয়েছে, যিনি সেই চিকিৎসক, তিনি বলেছেন যে রবিউল এবং এসি রবিউল ইসলাম এসি, তিনি এখন গুরুতর আছেন। আমরা বলেছিলাম যে রফিকুল ইসলাম তিনিও আহত আইসিইউতে আছেন, কিন্তু সেটা বলা হয়েছে যে রবিউল ইসলাম তিনি আইসিইউতে আছেন। আমরা সহকর্মী আদিত্য, আপনি এতক্ষণ অনেক ছবি দেখেছেন, আমরা রাস্তার উল্টা পাশে যানজটের ছবি দেখি।
All right, guys, we know 6 to 8 gunmen taking hostages in Bangladesh. These are live images coming in right now. We're going to get you guys new information. It is breaking news right now. It is trending on Twitter, Bangladesh trending on Twitter. Hostage situation out there. Attack at a restaurant in the diplomatic area of Dhaka. Described by the Daily Mirror as a Spanish bakery. Attackers taking hostages, again, a diplomatic area. There are reports of possible terror ties. I'm seeing reports on Twitter that the gunmen were saying Allahu Akbar as they were taking hostages. Again, breaking news. An unknown number of people trapped at this bakery in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm seeing reports on the cable networks. At least 20 hostages. Again, breaking news, developing information. All information we're receiving right now is coming from Twitter, so it is all tentative. It is not official information. I'm just working to get you guys whatever information we can on this developing hostage situation out of Bangladesh. তারা তাদের ফোন ধরছে না এবং কোনো ধরনের খোঁজ তাদের পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না। সেই ক্ষেত্রে আসলে বলা যায় যে আমরা শুরুর দিকে যে কথাটি বলছিলাম যে সেখানে কিছু বিদেশি লোকজন রয়েছে এবং তাদেরকে আসলে জিম্মি করেছে সন্ত্রাসীরা, এবং এই ঘটনাটি আসলে যে প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীরা কিছুক্ষণ আগে আসলে আমরা অনলাইন পোর্টালগুলোর মাধ্যমে জানতে পেরেছি, তাহলে কিছুটা সত্যতা আসলে প্রমাণিত পাওয়া গিয়েছে। তবে আবারও দর্শক, আমরা আপনাদেরকে বলতে চাই যে জাতীয় স্বার্থে আসলে আমরা ঘটনাস্থল থেকে আসলে সম্প্রচার করতে পারছি না, কারণ আইনশৃঙ্খলা বাহিনীর লোকজন আমাদেরকে অনুরোধ করেছেন জাতীয় স্বার্থে আসলে সেখানে আমরা সরাসরি সম্প্রচার করছি না। ইতোমধ্যেই দর্শক, আমাদের একদম শুরু থেকে যদি বলি, আমাদের সহকর্মী We are getting this feed from the Associated Press right now, so the person on the screen is speaking in the native language, I believe Bengali, discussing this breaking news, this hostage situation out of Bangladesh. I want to go ahead and play for you some more video. Stand by while I go ahead and gather this video for you. Oh, looks like they have more video on the screen. All right, guys, information that I'm gathering right now. Police exchanged gunfire with armed attackers today in the diplomatic zone of Dhaka, Bangladesh. Apparently, there are 6 to 8 gunmen holding about 20 people hostage inside at Holy Artisan Bakery. It's a cafe in Dhaka that it's very popular with expats. Again, this is the diplomatic area of Dhaka, Bangladesh. We are hearing reports that a police officer in charge of a nearby police station was shot dead. The armed assailants are inside this bakery, a Spanish restaurant. Some customers are trapped inside. Reports of about 20 hostages right now. Sources at the scene are throwing grenades at police. and apparently a police bomb disposal unit was on standby to go inside the venue. Working to get new information, watching Twitter as new tweets come in with new information regarding this hostage situation in Bangladesh. In the upper portion of your screen, I'm going to go ahead and play video of the Department of State issuing a statement on this shooting.
Of what appears to be a hostage situation in the Gulshan neighborhood of Dhaka, Bangladesh. We're also aware that local security forces are on the scene and responding. The in Dhaka is currently conducting accountability. I can tell you as of now, just before I came out here, that they have accounted for 100% of American citizens working under the chief of mission.
All right, it looks like that video is fairly difficult to hear.
লোকজন তারা আসলে তাদের পরবর্তী অভিযানের প্রস্তুতি নিচ্ছিল আমরা যতদূর পর্যন্ত দেখতে পেরেছি। তবে এই মুহূর্তে আসলে জাতীয় স্বার্থে আবারও বলতে চাই যে আমরা সরাসরি সম্প্রচার আসলে করছি না আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীদের অনুরোধে। যদিও আমরা পরবর্তীতে তাদের যে কোনো ধরনের ব্রিফিং হোক কিংবা আপডেট হোক আমরা আপনাদেরকে বরাবরই সেগুলো জানানোর চেষ্টা করব। তবে বারবারই আইন শৃঙ্খলার পক্ষ থেকে বলা হচ্ছে যে আতঙ্কিত হওয়ার কিছু নেই। পুরো পরিবেশ আসলে যদিও এখন থমথমে অবস্থা বিরাজ করছে, তারপরও আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর পক্ষ থেকে বলা হয়েছে আতঙ্কিত হবার বিষয়।
All right, guys, just doing a Twitter search for more information regarding this hostage situation in Bangladesh, I'm reading a article from the New York Times saying gunmen seize hostages and detonate explosive inside the restaurant. Gunmen detonated explosives and took a number of people hostage at a restaurant in Dhaka, Bangladesh, setting off a bloody standoff with the police on Friday night in the capital's diplomatic zone. Witnesses took to Twitter to report hearing gunfire and posted images of the armed paramilitary officers surrounding the restaurant. This is the Holy Artisan Bakery. Apparently, this bakery is popular with expatriates, diplomats, and middle-class families. It is in the diplomatic neighborhood of Dhaka. According to local media reports there in Bangladesh, as many as 10 police officers have been shot in the standoff. You're looking at live images coming in right now from Bangladesh. A number of the hostages are believed to be citizens of Western nations. However, we don't have a specific number, and we do not have the identities of the attackers thus far either. There are reports that there were approximately 6 to 8 gunmen involved in the situation. The United States State Department alerted Americans in the area about the shooting and hostage situation, told them to shelter in place and just monitor the news. The State Department spokesman John Kirby said that the situation's ongoing. It's too early for us to say who's involved or what the motivation is. It's still all unfolding right now. Now, a kitchen worker at the restaurant who managed to escape told a Bangladeshi newspaper that several armed men entered the restaurant around 8:45 p.m. local time and took hostages. They blasted several crude bombs, causing wide-scale panic among everyone. He said he managed to flee during all of this confusion. He also said that the attackers were armed with pistols, swords, and bombs, and shouted, "God is great," before detonating their explosives. You're looking at live images coming in from Bangladesh. This hostage situation taking place right now.
আসলে দেখতে পাচ্ছেন সেটি আমাদের সম্প্রচার বন্ধের আগ মুহূর্তের ফুটেজ এবং সেখান থেকে আমরা আমাদের সহকর্মী মনিরুল সোহাগ সেখানে বিস্তারিত আমাদেরকে জানাচ্ছিলেন এবং পরবর্তীতে র্যাবের মহাপরিচালক
Here's a tweet from Fox News Research saying, "This attack in Dhaka is at least the 10th terror attack in Bangladesh since September 2015. So in less than a year, they've already been dealing with a lot of terrorism there in Bangladesh."
পরবর্তীতে র্যাবের মহাপরিচালক বেনজির আহমেদের ব্রিফিং এর পরপরই আসলে সম্প্রচারটি আসলে তাদের আইনশৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর অনুরোধে এটি বন্ধ করা হয়। এছাড়া যারা আমাদের অন্যান্য যে সহকর্মীরা রয়েছেন তারা বরাবরই আসলে আপডেট দিচ্ছেন। আমাদের সহকর্মী ইমরান হোসেন সুমন রয়েছেন গুলশান 1-এ, তিনি সেখানকার পুরো এরিয়া পুরো ফুটেজ কভার করছেন এবং তার মাধ্যমে আমরা দেখতে পেয়েছি যে বিপুল পরিমাণ গাড়িবহর আসলে সেখানে আটকা পড়ে আছে। এই ঘটনার কারণে হয়তো সাধারণ মানুষের অনেকেই ঘটনা পুরোপুরি জানেন না, তবে তারা আসলে উৎকণ্ঠার মধ্যে রয়েছেন যে তারা আসলে কখন বাড়ি ফিরবেন। তবে তাদের উদ্দেশ্যে আসলে আইনশৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনী বারবারই বলেছেন যে আতঙ্কিত হবার কিছু নেই। তারা তাদের সর্বোচ্চভাবে চেষ্টা করছেন যেন পুরোটা পরিস্থিতি তারা নিয়ন্ত্রণে আনতে পারেন এবং আমরাও আশাবাদী যেন খুব দ্রুতই সেটি নিষ্পত্তি হয়। এবং বলা হচ্ছে যে ঠিক রাত 9টার দিকে 79 নম্বর সড়কের 5 নম্বর ভবনে হোটেল হলি আর্টিসান বেকারিতে সন্ত্রাসীরা হঠাৎ করে আসলে অতর্কিতে হামলা চালায় এবং প্রশাসনের সাথে তাদের গোলাগুলি হয় এবং এরপরে আসলে কয়েকজন আহত হন। আমরা দর্শক আপনাদেরকে আমরা এই ম্যাপের মাধ্যমে আসলে দেখাতে চাচ্ছি যে আসলে হলি আর্টিসান যে বেকারিটির কথা বলা হচ্ছে সেটি আসলে কোথায় এবং ঠিক ঘটনাস্থলের কথাটি আসলে চিহ্নিত করা হচ্ছে। এবং গুলশান লেকের একেবারে পাশে আপনারা হোটেলটির ছবি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন। ঠিক এটি গুলশান লেকের পাশে যদি বলা যায় যে লেক ভিউ ক্লিনিক এবং নর্ডিক ক্লাবের খুব কাছের আসলে এই জায়গাটি। এবং এইখানে আসলে বিদেশিরা বেশি আসে এবং সেই ক্ষেত্রে আসলে বলা যায় যে আমাদের হাতে যে প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীদের একটি খবর এসেছিল অনলাইন পোর্টালগুলোর মাধ্যমে, সেখান থেকে আমরা জানতে পেরেছিলাম যে
All right, guys, looks like we have lost that feed from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Twitter for you guys so we can go ahead and look at the tweets as they're coming in. Stand by while I go ahead and pull this up for you. I'm just going to pull up my Twitter for you guys. We'll go ahead and take a look at Twitter and all the tweets as they're coming in. Bangladesh trending, you can see right here. Go ahead and pull that up for you. Different people tweeting. Gunfire hitting restaurant in diplomatic area of Dhaka. Looks like we have our feed back now from Bangladesh. We just have a different source. Let's go to it live.
ওই ফাঁকা গুলির শব্দ পেয়েই ওই রেস্টুরেন্টের ছাদে চলে যান এবং ছাদে চলে গিয়ে এক পর্যায়ে তারা কয়েকজন আসলে উপর থেকে লাফ দিয়ে ছাদ থেকে লাফ দিয়ে আসলে প্রাণে রক্ষা পান। তিনি আমাদেরকে এমনটি জানিয়েছেন। এর পাশাপাশি তিনি আমাদেরকে আরও যেটি জানিয়েছেন সেটি হচ্ছে যে এখানে মূলত যারা এই রেস্টুরেন্টে সেবা গ্রহণ করতে আসেন তারা বেশিরভাগ বা শতভাগই বিদেশি কাস্টমার বা বিদেশি গ্রাহকরাই এখানে আসেন। এটাই তিনি আমাদেরকে জানিয়েছেন। এবং তবে কতজন ওই ঘটনার সময়ে ভেতরে ছিল সেই বিষয়ে আমরা প্রশ্ন করেছি, কিন্তু সেই প্রশ্নের কোনো সদুত্তর আসলে তিনি আমাদেরকে দিতে পারেননি। আসলে তিনিও এমনটাই চরম ঝুঁকিপূর্ণ অবস্থায় ছিলেন যে তার আসলে এগুলো খেয়াল করার মতো উপায় ছিল না বলেই তিনি আমাদেরকে জানিয়েছেন। এবং তিনি আমাকে আরও যেটি জানিয়েছেন যে তিনি গুলি করতে দেখেছেন, তবে যেই দুই ব্যক্তিকে দেখেছেন বেশ দূর থেকে দেখার কারণে আসলে তারা দেখতে কেমন ছিল সেটি আসলে তিনি আমাদেরকে বলতে পারেননি। পারমিতা, এর পাশাপাশি আপনাকে যেটি জানিয়ে দিই যে এরই মধ্যে এই হোটেলেরই একজন কর্মীর সহায়তায় ভেতরে অবস্থান করছেন এমন একজনের সাথেও মোবাইল ফোনে আমার কথা হয়েছে। সঙ্গত কারণে আমরা তার নাম পরিচয় প্রকাশ করতে পারছি না, তার নিরাপত্তার কথা বিবেচনায় রেখেই তিনি আমাদেরকে যেটি জানিয়েছেন যে ভেতরে মূলত হামলাকারী বা বন্দুকধারী 7-8 জনকে তিনি ভেতরে দেখতে পেয়েছেন এবং ভেতরে এখনও অনেকেই আটকে আছেন বলে তিনি আমাদেরকে জানিয়েছেন। এবং তিনি আমাদেরকে আরও যেই বিষয়টি জানিয়েছেন সেটি হচ্ছে যে এই ঘটনার পরপরেই মূলত সেখানে আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন দর্শক যে ইউনাইটেড হাসপাতালে বিভিন্ন পুলিশের ঊর্ধ্বতন কর্মকর্তারা এখানে এসেছিলেন। তারা এখন এরকম একটা টিম আসছে তো আরেকটা টিম যাচ্ছে, কারণ হচ্ছে ওসি সালাউদ্দিন নিহত হয়েছেন, কিন্তু আরও অনেক ঊর্ধ্বতন কর্মকর্তারা আহত হয়েছেন বলে আমরা শুনতে পেয়েছি, যেমন গুলশান জোনের।
দর্শক, ইউনাইটেড হাসপাতালের সামনে থেকে আমাদেরকে জানাচ্ছিলেন সহকর্মী ওমর ফারুক। আপনাদেরকে আগেই জানিয়েছি সেখানে যারা আহত হয়েছেন পুলিশ সদস্য তাদেরকে ভর্তি করা হয়েছে, যারা গুরুতর অবস্থায় আছেন সেখানে তাদের খবর জানাচ্ছিলেন। আমরা এখন চলে যাব সহকর্মী রাশেদ লিমনের কাছে। তিনি গুলশানে যেখানে পুরো এলাকার নিরাপত্তা জোরদার করা হয়েছে, পুলিশ ব্যারিকেড দিয়েছে এলাকায় ঢোকার রাস্তায়, সেখানে তিনি আছেন। আমরা তার কাছে গিয়ে জেনে আসবো সর্বশেষ অবস্থা।
তৈরি করা হয়েছে এবং এরই প্রেক্ষিতে কিন্তু আসলে আমরা সেই রাত থেকে দেখছিলাম যে পুরো গুলশান এলাকায় কিন্তু যান চলাচলটা সীমিত হয়ে গেছে। তবে যারা আসলে এই গুলশান এলাকায় অবস্থান করছিলেন বা গুলশান এলাকায় যারা ছিলেন তারা কিন্তু এখন গুলশান থেকে বের হওয়ার ক্ষেত্রেও কিন্তু আসলে তাদের বিড়ম্বনা পোহাতে হচ্ছে এবং যারই প্রেক্ষিতে কিন্তু এখন আমরা এই মুহূর্তে অবস্থান করছি গুলশান থেকে হাতিরঝিল থেকে এসে ঠিক হাতিরঝিলের মুখে এখানে কিন্তু আসলে পুলিশ যে নিরাপত্তা বেষ্টনী বসিয়েছেন এবং সেই নিরাপত্তা বেষ্টনীর প্রেক্ষিতে আমরা দেখেছি যে তারা নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থেই প্রত্যেকটি গাড়ি একদম আলাদা আলাদা ভাবে থামিয়ে প্রত্যেকটি গাড়ি তারা তল্লাশি করছেন এবং শুধু গাড়ি নয় গাড়িতে যারা আরোহী রয়েছেন ড্রাইভার থেকে শুরু করে যারা আরোহী।
Again, guys, you're looking at live images coming in from Bangladesh, Dhaka specifically, a hostage situation. Gunmen targeting a restaurant in a diplomatic area where people from foreign nations typically frequent. Attackers taking hostage at this restaurant in Bangladesh described as a Spanish bakery, the Holy Artisan Bakery Cafe. Really unfortunate situation over there. Multiple gunmen involved. No details on the gunmen or the number of hostages. I've seen reports of about 20 hostages. Searching Twitter for more information. Everything right now is fairly preliminary information. I'm monitoring foxnews.com for any updates as well. Working to get you guys any information we can on this hostage situation out of Bangladesh. According to foxnews.com, it's possible that there are up to 60 hostages, according to different TV reports there. They're saying a group of up to 9 attackers set off bombs and took hostages inside the restaurant that's frequented by both locals and foreigners in this diplomatic zone of Bangladesh. Those attackers were holding customers and staff hostage. And the reports say that a huge contingent of security guards cordoned off the area in the restaurant as they traded gunfire with the attackers who had set off explosions. Now there's a kitchen worker who managed to escape the attack. He said that they blasted several crude bombs, causing wide-scale panic among everyone there. We know that people have been injured. There are reports that a police officer was killed by the attackers, and these are live images coming in now from Bangladesh. We'll go ahead and pull up an image here of exactly where this is taking place. It's taking place in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Bangladesh is just east of India.
বিকল্প পথ থাকলেও যারা আসলে গুলশান থেকে বের হবেন অথবা গুলশান 2 অথবা গুলশান 1 থেকে যারা এই রাস্তায় বের হবেন তারা কিন্তু আসলে এই মুহূর্তে বের হতে পারছেন না এবং অনেকেই যেমনটি বলছিলাম যে অনেকেই কিন্তু বিষয়টি সম্বন্ধে জানেন না বাইরে থাকার কারণে কিন্তু যে কারণে তাদের একটু সমস্যায় পোহাতে হচ্ছে কিন্তু সমস্যা হলেও আসলে আমি যেমনটি শুনছিলাম যে র্যাবের পক্ষ থেকে বলা হয়েছিল যে জাতীয় নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থেই আসলে তাদের এই তল্লাশি করছেন এবং তারা এই যে বিভিন্ন জায়গায় যারা যে আটকে দিচ্ছেন এবং আটকে দিচ্ছে যেমনটি তল্লাশির ঘটনাটি যেমনটি বলছিলাম তারা একদম 1 বাই 1 প্রত্যেকটি গাড়ি তল্লাশি করছে শুধু গাড়ি না যারা বিকল্প হিসেবে আমরা যেমনটি দেখছিলাম যারা আসলে গাড়ি রেখে যারা সুবিধা মতো ভাবে পায়ে হেঁটে চলেছেন তাদেরও কিন্তু আসলে তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে পাশাপাশি যারা মোটরসাইকেল আরোহী আছেন তাদেরকেও কিন্তু তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে এবং সবকিছু মিলে এই পুরো এলাকায় একটা নিরাপত্তা বলয় তৈরি করা হয়েছে এবং এই বলয় থেকে পুলিশ আমরা এখানে যারা রয়েছেন তাদের সঙ্গে এরা তাদের সঙ্গে যেমনটি তাদের সঙ্গে যেমনটি কথা বলছিলাম তারা আসলে যেমনটি বলছেন যে তাৎক্ষণিকভাবে তারা আসলে বিষয়টি সম্বন্ধে অবগত ছিলেন না যে কারণে হয়তোবা তারা এখানে এসে বিপাকে পড়েছেন। আমি যদি কথা বলি একটু কি অবস্থায়?
হ্যাঁ ভাইয়া, গুলশান 2 নম্বর থেকে 3 ঘন্টা পর্যন্ত বসে আছি।
তো ওখানে অনেক গাড়ি টাড়ি গেছে, করছে, তারপর অনেক গাড়ি গেছে, পুলিশের গাড়ি গেছে। ওখানে একটা রেস্টুরেন্টের পাশেই শুরু করে ওখানে ক্লাব আছে, ওখানে গ্যাঞ্জামটা হয়েছে।
আচ্ছা, সাধারণ মানুষ আসলে যেমনটি বলছিলেন, যারা আসলে জানে তারাও কিন্তু আসলে যেহেতু এটি একটি মূল সড়ক, প্রধান সড়ক, তাই কাজেই তাদের কিন্তু আসলে এই রাস্তা থেকে ওভাবে বেরিয়ে আসাও সম্ভব হচ্ছে না, এবং যে কারণেই তাদের আসলে এই বিপাকে পড়তে হচ্ছে। কিন্তু আসলে আমরা কিন্তু পুলিশকে দেখেছি, তারা কিন্তু আসলে খুবই গোছালো ভাবে যারা আছেন গাড়ির মধ্যে তাদের আসলে ধৈর্য ধরে থাকতে বলছেন, এবং একে একে তারা নিয়ে যাচ্ছেন এবং সবাইকে ধরে তারা চেক করছেন, এবং তারা যেমনটি বলছিলেন যে নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থে এই যে গাড়ি, আপনি যেমনটি এখন আমরা যে ছবিতে দেখাচ্ছি, যে গাড়ি একদম আপনি যদি একটু দেখতে পারেন যে পুরো রাস্তা ব্লক করে দিয়ে শুধুমাত্র একটি গাড়ি যাতে বের হওয়া যায় এমন ভাবে তারা একটি জায়গা রেখেছেন, এবং এই গাড়ি থেকে তারা কেবলমাত্র একটি একটি করে গাড়ি ছাড়ছেন, এবং প্রত্যেকটি গাড়ি খুব ভালোভাবে তল্লাশি করে নিচ্ছেন। আমরা যদি একটু সামনে আগাই তাহলে হয়তো বা এখানে যারা অপেক্ষমান রয়েছেন তাদের সঙ্গে একটু কথা বলতে পারবো। আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন যে প্রত্যেকটি গাড়ি কিন্তু আসলে এভাবে থামিয়ে নিয়ে, এবং এই যেমনটি আমি আগেও বলেছি যে এই যে অপেক্ষমান মানুষের যে যানজটের যে সৃষ্টি হয়েছে, এটা কিন্তু একদম গুলশান একের পরেও কিন্তু আসলে রয়েছে, এবং যেভাবে প্রত্যেকটি গাড়িকে তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে, এবং গাড়ির ভিতরে যেমনটি রয়েছেন যারা আরোহী তাদেরকেও তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থে, এবং তারা কিন্তু আসলে আমি যেমনটি বলছিলাম যে অনেকক্ষণ ধরে মানুষ যারা অপেক্ষমান রয়েছেন তারা কিন্তু আসলে যারা জানেন তারা আসলে জেনেও কিন্তু তারা আসলে স্বাভাবিকভাবে এত বড় একটা ঘটনার পরে কিন্তু মানুষজন একটু আতঙ্কিত হয়ে তারা কেউ যত দ্রুত বাসায় ফিরতে চাচ্ছিলেন, তারাও কিন্তু আসলে একটু স্বাভাবিকভাবে একটু আতঙ্কিত অবস্থায় রয়েছেন তারা আসলে, এবং যারা পেছনে ঠিক রয়েছেন তারা কিন্তু আসলে, আমি যখন একটু দূরে গিয়েছিলাম, তারা কিন্তু আসলে বিষয়টি সম্বন্ধে জানতেও পারছেন না যে সামনে আসলে কি অবস্থা। তারা কিন্তু অনেকক্ষণ ধরে ঘন্টার পর ঘন্টা এখানে অপেক্ষা করছেন, এবং সবশেষ কিন্তু তারা যেমনটি বলছিলেন, তারপরে সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে সবকিছু পরে কিন্তু গাড়িগুলো ছেড়ে দেওয়া হচ্ছে ওয়ান বাই ওয়ান, এবং যখন যারা তল্লাশি শেষে গাড়িগুলোকে ছেড়ে দেওয়া হচ্ছে, কিন্তু তার আগে যে মূল বিষয়টি তাদেরকে এখানে কিন্তু বেশ খানিকটা সময় এখানে অপেক্ষা করতে হচ্ছে। তবে পুলিশের পক্ষ থেকে যেটা বলা হয়েছে, তারা নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থে এটা আসলে পুরোটা যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত এই ধরনের পরিস্থিতি চলবে তারা তাদের এই তল্লাশি কার্যক্রম চালিয়ে যাবে। তো এখান থেকে এই গুলশান থেকে আসলে আপাতত এই ছিল আমার কাছে পারমিতা সবশেষ।
দর্শক, সহকর্মী রাশেদ লিমন আমাদের সাথে যোগ দিয়েছিলেন গুলশান থেকে, এবং তিনি জানাচ্ছিলেন সেখানে আমরা দেখছিলাম সরাসরি এই পুরো এলাকাতে যে ব্যাপক নিরাপত্তা ব্যবস্থা নেওয়া হয়েছে তারই অংশ হিসেবে সেখানে যে রাস্তাগুলো রয়েছে বিভিন্ন সংযোগ সড়ক গুলশান হয়ে বিভিন্ন এলাকায় গিয়েছে, সেখানে প্রত্যেকটি সংযোগ সড়কে পুলিশ ব্যারিকেড দিয়েছে, এবং যে গাড়িগুলো সেখানে চলাচল করছে প্রত্যেকটি গাড়িতেই তল্লাশি করে তারপরে সেই রাস্তার চলাচল করতে দেওয়া হচ্ছে। এবং আমরা দেখছিলাম সেখানেও যে পুলিশ চেকপোস্টগুলো বসানো হয়েছে আসাদ, সেখানেও কিন্তু বিপুল পরিমাণ আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনীর সদস্য সেখানে উপস্থিত আছেন। তো যারা এইমাত্র টিভি সেটের সামনে হাজির হয়েছেন দর্শক, তাদের জন্য আরেকবার জানিয়ে রাখি, আজ রাত 8:30 থেকে 9:30 মধ্যে যে ঘটনাটি আমরা আমাদের সহকর্মী এবং যারা প্রত্যক্ষদর্শী আছেন তাদের কাছ থেকে জানতে পেরেছি যে রেস্টুরেন্টের ছবি আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন, হলি আর্টিসান বেকারি নামে একটি স্প্যানিশ রেস্টুরেন্ট, এবং গুলশান 2-এর 79 নম্বর রোডে এই রেস্টুরেন্টটি অবস্থিত। সেখানে আজ রাত 8:30 থেকে 9:30 মধ্যে বেশ কয়েকজন অস্ত্রধারী সন্ত্রাসী ঢোকে, এবং প্রথমে ঢুকে তারা ফাঁকা গুলি ছুড়ে সেখানে, এবং এরপরে আমরা যা শুনেছি প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীর কাছ থেকে, সেই রেস্টুরেন্টেরই উপস্থিত একজনের কাছ থেকে আমরা যতটুকু জানতে পেরেছি, তারা সেখানে ঢুকে আল্লাহু আকবার নামে স্লোগান দেয়, এবং এরপরে তারা সেখানে ভেতরে যারা ছিলেন, এখন পর্যন্ত আমরা যে তথ্য পেয়েছি তাতে তাদের বেশিরভাগই যারা ভেতরে ছিলেন তারা বিদেশি নাগরিক, তাদেরকে তারা জিম্মি করে রেখেছেন, এবং জিম্মি করার সাথে সাথে আসাদ সেখানে কিন্তু আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনীর সদস্যরা উপস্থিত হয়েছেন, এবং তার মধ্যে বেশ কয়েকজন তারা সেখানে ঢোকার চেষ্টা করার পরে বেশ কয়েকজন আহত হয়েছেন। একজন নিহতের খবর আছে আমাদের কাছে।
একবার সময় ধরে জানাই তাহলে সেটি হচ্ছে যে 10:35 মিনিটে দ্বিতীয় দফায় আমরা দেখেছি যে ভেতরে থাকা যারা রয়েছেন আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীরা যখন চারদিকটা ঘিরে ফেলেছেন, সেখানকার নিয়ন্ত্রণ তারা নিতে চাচ্ছিলেন। ঠিক সে সময় ঠিক 10:35 থেকে 10:45 এই সময়ের মধ্যে আমরা সেই সময়
We're getting a live feed of the news from Bangladesh, guys. The reason you don't hear audio is because they're speaking in Bengali.
সে গোলাগুলিতে দেখা গেছে যে পুলিশের কয়েকজন সদস্য আহত হয়েছে এবং বিশেষ করে যদি আমি বলি যে এসি রেজাউল তিনি গুরুতর আহত হয়েছেন। আমরা দেখেছি যে পাঞ্জাবি পরা এবং পাজামা পরা একজন পুলিশ কর্মকর্তা যার পায়ে এবং হাতে রক্তাক্ত অবস্থা সেটি আমরা সরাসরি দেখেছি। তাকে জানা গেছে তিনি এসি রেজাউল, তাকে হসপিটালে নিয়ে যাওয়া হয়েছে এবং তার কিছুক্ষণ পরে আমরা একজন পুলিশ কর্মকর্তাকে খুব গুরুতর অবস্থায় অর্থাৎ খুব মুমূর্ষু অবস্থায় আমরা তাকে কয়েকজন ধরাধরি করে নিয়ে আসছিলেন, নিয়ে আসা হয়েছে এবং আমরা পরবর্তীতে যে তথ্যটি পেয়েছি সেই তথ্য হচ্ছে যে বনানী থানার ভারপ্রাপ্ত কর্মকর্তা ওসি সালাউদ্দিন তিনি নিহত হয়েছেন, সেই তথ্যটি আমরা পেয়েছি।
আসাদ, আমরা স্ক্রিনে দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে রেস্টুরেন্টের ছবি, যে রেস্টুরেন্টটিতে এই ঘটনাটি ঘটেছে এবং আমরা জানি গুলশানের এই এলাকাটি কিন্তু আসলে বেশ অভিজাত এলাকা এবং যেহেতু বেশ কিছু দূতাবাস
Right now you're looking at images of the cafe where the hostage situation is taking place. This is described as a Spanish bakery, a very popular place for foreigners in the diplomatic area of Dhaka in Bangladesh.
বেশি আনাগোনা থাকবে এবং বিশেষত এই স্প্যানিশ রেস্টুরেন্টটি র্যাবের মহাপরিচালকের বরাত অনুযায়ী যদি বলি এই স্প্যানিশ রেস্টুরেন্টটিতে
Now, according to the Associated Press, as many as 9 gunmen have attacked a restaurant in the capital of Bangladesh that is popular with foreigners. It's in the diplomatic zone in Dhaka. Authorities say the gunmen have taken hostages and they've exchanged gunfire with security forces. Some foreigners are believed to be among the hostages. Now, the State Department says the U.S. Embassy in Bangladesh has accounted for all of the U.S. citizens who are under the authority of the diplomatic chief of mission there. A department spokesman says it's too early to say who is involved in the assault.
চেষ্টা করেছেন, তবে শেষ আমাদেরকে গণমাধ্যমের সামনে র্যাবের পক্ষ থেকে যেটি জানা হয়েছে, তারা বলছে র্যাবের পক্ষ থেকে জানানো হয়েছে যে বিভিন্ন সংলাপের মাধ্যমে ভেতরে যারা জিম্মি করেছেন, জিম্মিকারী যারা রয়েছেন তাদের সঙ্গে আলাপ আলোচনার মাধ্যমে তারা
একটু আমরা যদি আমাদের সহকর্মীরা সেখানকার প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীদের সাথে কথা বলেছেন, আবারও আমরা তারা কি বলেছেন সেটি আমরা জেনে আসব।
প্রথম তো বাইরে থেকে অ্যাটাক শুরু করছে, তারপরে ওরা ভিতরে ঢুকছে কিনা ওইটা আমরা দেখি না, কারণ আমরা তো তখন ছাদে চলে গেছি। পরে ছাদে গিয়া আমরা মানে যেভাবে পারছি ল্যাপটপ দিয়া ওইখান থেকে বের হইয়া তারপরে বাঁচিয়ে যে ইসের সময় আবার হাতটাত কাটে গেছে অনেকেরই। ওরা ম্যাক্সিমাম 8 জন, ওরা এক একজন এক এক রকমের, তবে ওরা খুব কমফোর্ট ভাবে আসছে, মানে যে আছে না যে একটু ফ্লেক্সিবল ভাবে প্যান্ট শার্ট ইন করা, এবং ওরা ওই যতক্ষণ ছিল আল্লাহু আকবার বলতেছে আর ইয়া করতেছে।
আমি যখন নামাজে যাই তার কিছুক্ষণ পরে হঠাৎ করে একটা ওই রেস্টুরেন্টের ভিতরে আওয়াজ হয়েছে। ওই আওয়াজটার পরে তারা একটু ভয় পেয়ে বারান্দায় গিয়ে তাকায়া দেখছে, দেখার পরে দেখে যে ভিতরে অনেক ফায়ার হচ্ছে, অনেক হইচই হইতেছে। এটা দেখে তারা সবাই বাসার ভিতরে এসে দরজা বন্ধ করে বসে আছে। এখানকার অবস্থা খুব খারাপ।
পারমিতা, প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীদের যেমন দেখেছেন এবং যেমনটি বলেছেন সে অনুযায়ী কিন্তু ওই রেস্টুরেন্টের সুপারভাইজার সুমন রেজা তিনি যেমনটি বলেছিলেন যে একেবারে ওয়েল প্রিপেয়ার্ড হয়ে অর্থাৎ প্রস্তুতি নিয়ে কিন্তু সেখানে আসলে এই হামলাটি বা এই জিম্মির ঘটনাটি আসলে ঘটানোর চেষ্টা করা হয়েছে এবং তেমনটি আসলে দেখেছেন।
পুরো দেশেই কিন্তু এখন আসলে ঈদের আমেজ পুরো দেশেই সবার মধ্যে বিরাজ করছে। ঈদের ছুটি শুরু হয়েছে, আমরা দেখেছি বেশ শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে রাজধানীবাসী বাড়ি ফেরা যে বিষয়টি সেটি শুরু হয়েছে এবং আজকে এই অন্যান্য দিন আমরা যেটি দেখতাম যে এই সময়ে যে পরিমাণ মানুষের সরগরমে যেরকম মুখর থাকতো আমাদের রাজধানীর প্রতিটি রাস্তা অলিগলি, আজকে কিন্তু সেই তুলনায় রাজধানীতে মানুষের সংখ্যা কমে গেছে এবং এই সময় আসলে এই ধরনের একটি জিম্মির ঘটনা আমাদের দেশে তো এই ধরনের জিম্মির ঘটনা কখনোই ঘটেনি। আমরা অনেকদিন ধরে এই ধরনের আশঙ্কার কথা শুনছিলাম
এবং কিছুদিন আগে আমরা মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের যে ঘটনাটি দেখেছি, একটি বারে হামলার ঘটনা ঘটেছে, প্রায় 50 জনের অধিক সেখানে নিহত হয়েছে। এই ধরনের ঘটনা বাংলাদেশে প্রথম এখন পর্যন্ত আসলে এই ধরনের কোনো রেস্টুরেন্টে কোনো সন্ত্রাসী হামলা এবং সেখানে ৮-১০ জন অস্ত্রধারী ঢুকে বিদেশি নাগরিক তাদেরকে জিম্মি করা এবং তার প্রেক্ষিতে আইনশৃঙ্খলা পরিস্থিতির আইনশৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনীর যারা সদস্য তারা চারদিক ঘিরে রেখেছেন। অর্থাৎ এরকম পরিস্থিতিগুলোকে আমরা বিদেশে ঘটেছে, মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্রে ঘটেছে, বিভিন্ন জায়গায় ঘটেছে, এরকমটা আমরা শুনেছি।
মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্র বা এই ধরনের দেশগুলোতে তো কিছুদিন পরপরই আমরা এই ধরনের ঘটনা শুনতে পাই, কিন্তু আমাদের দেশে এই ধরনের আশঙ্কা কিন্তু অনেক দিন ধরেই করা হচ্ছিল এবং আমরা তখন কিছুটা অবাকই হচ্ছিলাম যে আমাদের দেশকে ঘিরে কেন আসলে এই ধরনের আশঙ্কা করা হচ্ছে। বিশেষ করে আমরা বিভিন্ন বাইরের যারা দূতাবাসের লোকজন আছেন তাদের কাছ থেকে আমরা শুনছিলাম এবং তারা আমাদের স্বরাষ্ট্র মন্ত্রণালয়কে অনুরোধ করছিল তাদের নিরাপত্তা দেওয়ার ব্যাপারে। আপনার মনে আছে কিনা আসাদ, আমি জানি না, অস্ট্রেলিয়ার একটি দল আমাদের দেশে খেলতে আসার কথা ছিল এবং তারা নিরাপত্তার অজুহাত দেখে আসেনি। তারপর আমরা দেখি যে ইতালির একজন নাগরিক, বিদেশি নাগরিক তাভেল্লা সিজার, তাকে গুলি করে এই গুলশানেরই রাস্তায় হত্যা করা হয়।
কূটনৈতিক পাড়ায় সে ডিপ্লোম্যাট জন গুলশানে কিন্তু তাকে খুন করা হয়।
এই গুলশানের সবগুলো রাস্তাতে আমরা দেখেছি আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনী কিছুক্ষণ পরপরই তারা তাদের যে চেকপোস্ট রয়েছে সেটি বসিয়েছিল এবং সেখানে যে যানবাহনগুলো চলাচল করতো, যে যানবাহনগুলো চলাচল করে সাধারণত, সেখানে কিন্তু সারাদিনই বিশেষ করে সন্ধ্যার পর থেকে সেখানে বেশ ভালোভাবে তল্লাশি চালানো হয় প্রত্যেকটি যে গাড়ি সেখানে চলাচল করে সেগুলোতে।
তবে পারমিতা, এইটুকু এখন পর্যন্ত নিশ্চিতভাবে বলা যায় যে যারা সেখানে হামলাকারী রয়েছেন বা জিম্মিকারী রয়েছেন, যারা জিম্মি করতে এসেছেন, তারা প্রত্যেকেই অনেক বেশি পরিকল্পিত এবং সেখানে অনেক বেশি গোলাবারুদ, অস্ত্র সেখানে এবং বোমা নিয়ে প্রবেশ করেছেন এবং যে বোমার বিস্ফোরণটি আসলে তারা প্রবেশ করার প্রায় ২ ঘন্টা পর, অর্থাৎ যদি আমরা সময়টি ধরে 8:30টায় সেখানে প্রবেশ করেছেন, 10:35 পৌনে 11টার সময় আবারও সেখানে প্রবেশ করে সেখানে বোমার বিস্ফোরণ ঘটিয়েছেন, গোলাগুলির ঘটনা ঘটিয়েছেন। তো এবং দর্শক, র্যাবের মহাপরিচালক যে বিবৃতি দিয়েছেন এবং তার কথা অনুযায়ী কিন্তু সরাসরিভাবে তিনি এই ঘটনাটি সম্প্রচার করবার জন্য গণমাধ্যমকে অনুরোধ করেছেন যেন না করা হয় সম্প্রচার। সে কারণেই কিন্তু আসলে সম্প্রচার থেকে
বেরিয়ে এসেছি। তো আমরা সেই র্যাবের কথাটি শুনে আসি।
সন্ধ্যার কিছু পরে এখানে একটা রেস্টুরেন্ট আছে, এটা একটা স্প্যানিশ রেস্টুরেন্ট, ছোট একটা রেস্টুরেন্ট। সেই রেস্টুরেন্টে মোস্টলি এই সন্ধ্যার পর অনেক কাস্টমাররা আসে। এই রেস্টুরেন্টেই কয়েকজন অস্ত্রধারী ভিতরে প্রবেশ করেছে, এটাই হচ্ছে আমাদের কাছে খবর। ওখান থেকে যে রেস্টুরেন্টে যারা কর্মচারী তারা কেউ কেউ বেরিয়ে এসছে, ওদের সঙ্গে আমরা কথা বলেছি এবং আমরা এখন চেষ্টা করছি যাতে করে এটা শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে এটা কিছু করা যায়। তো এই ক্ষেত্রে আপনাদের আমরা সমর্থন কামনা করছি। আমাদের এখানে আমি সবাইকে বলবো যে আতঙ্কিত কোনো কারণ নেই, আমরা এখানে সবাই আছি এবং যারা এখানে ঢুকেছে অস্ত্র সহকারে তাদের সঙ্গে আমরা আবার বলি যোগাযোগ স্থাপন করতে চাই, কন্ট্যাক্ট করতে চাই এবং তাদের কি সমস্যা আমরা শুনতে চাই। আমরা এটাকে পিসফুলি রিজলভ করতে চাই, এটা আমাদের প্রথম লক্ষ্য আর কি। কারণ প্রতিটি জীবন আমাদের কাছে মূল্যবান, ঠিক আছে? যে যদি বিপদগামী হয়ে কোনো কিছু করার অপচেষ্টা করে, ডেফিনেটলি উই ক্যান টক অ্যান্ড রিজলভ দিস। আমরা সেই চেষ্টা করছি। আমরা আপনাদের সহযোগিতা চাই, দয়া করে এই কন্টিনিউয়াস দিবেন না, এটা জাতীয় স্বার্থ এবং ইভেন দেখা যায় আপনার নিরাপত্তার স্বার্থ এটা জরুরি।
আসাদ, আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনীর পক্ষ থেকে যেমনটি জানানো হয়েছে এবং আদতে এটি দেখে যা মনে হচ্ছে তাতে কিন্তু আমাদের দেশে এই ঘটনা একেবারেই প্রথম হলেও তারা কিন্তু বেশ, আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে, ম্যাচিউরড আচরণ করছেন এবং আসলেও এই ধরনের ঘটনার ক্ষেত্রে সরাসরি সম্প্রচারে অনেকগুলো সমস্যা থাকে।
অবশ্যই, কারণ এই ঘটনাটি দুটি দিকই থাকতে পারে। সেটি হচ্ছে যে এখানে যেহেতু একটি পরিকল্পিত ঘটনা, সেই ঘটনার প্রেক্ষিতে এই পরিকল্পনার যারা শুধুমাত্র প্রবেশ করেছেন তারাই যে পরিকল্পনার অংশগ্রহণকারী তা নয় বা অংশ তা নয়, তার বাইরেও থাকতে পারে। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আইনশৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর এই অভিযানের যারা রয়েছেন এবং যে সন্ত্রাসীরা তারা যারা ভিতরে রয়েছেন, ভিতর থেকেও কিন্তু এই সরাসরি সম্প্রচার তারা দেখতে পারেন যে বাইরে থেকে আসলে কি প্রস্তুতি নেওয়া হচ্ছে, কিভাবে এই অভিযানটি পরিচালনা করবেন আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনী।
এবং আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে বেশ ম্যাচিউরড ভাবেই কিন্তু আমাদের আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনী পুরো বিষয়টিকে তারা যে ব্যবস্থাপনা করেছেন সেটিকে আমার কাছে বেশ ভালো মনে হয়েছে। এবং আপনি এই ঘটনাটি ঘটার পরপরই কিন্তু সেখানে আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনীর সদস্যরা উপস্থিত হয়েছেন এবং সেই সাথে পুরো এলাকায়, এই গুলশানের পুরো এলাকায় যতগুলো চেকপোস্ট সেখানে ইতোমধ্যে আছে, এর মধ্যেই সেখানে চেকপোস্টের সংখ্যা বাড়ানো হয়েছে এবং পুরো এলাকায় যতগুলো রাস্তা আছে সেখানে কিন্তু ব্যাপক নিরাপত্তা বাহিনীর সদস্যরা সেখানে উপস্থিত আছেন এবং তারা সেখানে উপস্থিত হয়ে আমরা কিছুক্ষণ আগে দেখছিলামও রাস্তার অবস্থা, যতগুলো গাড়ি সেখানে চলাচল করছে প্রত্যেকটিতে তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে,
1 বাই 1 প্রত্যেকটি গাড়িকে তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে এবং সেখানকার পুরো গুলশানের চারপাশের যে লিংক রোডগুলো রয়েছে সেই লিংক রোডগুলো তল্লাশি চৌকি বসানো হয়েছে আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর পক্ষ থেকে, এবং যে গাড়িগুলো বের হয়ে যাচ্ছে গুলশান থেকে প্রত্যেকটি গাড়িকে তল্লাশি করা হচ্ছে, এবং আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর পক্ষ থেকে সম্পূর্ণভাবে এই চেষ্টাটুকু এখন পর্যন্ত আমরা দেখেছি যে এই পরিস্থিতিকে যতটা সম্ভব ভালোভাবে আসলে মোকাবেলা করবার জন্য। এবং
আসলে আমরা রেস্টুরেন্টে দেখছিলাম, বেশ বড় একটি রেস্টুরেন্ট, দোতলা রেস্টুরেন্ট, এবং যে হলি আর্টিজান বেকারি রেস্টুরেন্টের নাম, এবং এই ধরনের আসলে অনেকগুলো রেস্টুরেন্টই কিন্তু সেই গুলশান পাড়াতে রয়েছে, কূটনৈতিক পাড়ায় রয়েছে, যেখানে বেশিরভাগ সময় আমাদের যে বিদেশি নাগরিকরা রয়েছেন যারা রাজধানীতে থাকেন তারাই সেখানে মূলত গিয়ে থাকেন। তো আমরা দেখছিলাম আসাদ, সেই রেস্টুরেন্টটি বেশ বড় এবং দোতলা পর্যন্ত সেটি এক্সটেন্ডেড, এবং আমরা দেখছিলাম যে সে বেশ সুসজ্জিত, এবং যতটুকু আমরা শেষ পর্যন্ত খবর পেয়েছি এই জিম্মিকারীরা সেখানে ঢোকার পরপরই সেই রেস্টুরেন্টটি সব বাতি বন্ধ করে দেয়। এখনো পর্যন্ত সেখান থেকে কোনো ধরনের সাড়া শব্দ পাওয়া যায়নি, এবং আমাদের সহকর্মীদের মাধ্যমে আমরা জানছিলাম, আমরা দেখছিলাম যে তার সামনে কিন্তু এখন পুরো এলাকাটি আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষা বাহিনী যেমন ঘিরে রেখেছে, এই রেস্টুরেন্টের সামনে এই র্যাব, পুলিশ, আনসার, বিজিবি তাদের সদস্যরা এর সামনে মোতায়েন রয়েছে, একেবারেই প্রস্তুত রয়েছে, এবং এই এলাকাবাসী এবং প্রত্যক্ষদর্শীরা এই ঘটনাটির বর্ণনা যেভাবে দিয়েছেন আমরা শুনছিলাম, আমাদের সহকর্মীরা তাদের সঙ্গে কথা বলেছিলেন। দর্শক, আমরা আরেকবার সেটা শুনে আসবো।
প্রথম তো বাইরে থেকে অ্যাটাক শুরু করছে, তারপরে ওরা ভিতরে ঢুকছে কিনা ওইটা আমরা দেখি না, কারণ আমরা তো তখন ছাদে চলে গেছি। পরে ছাদে গিয়া আমরা মানে যেভাবে পারছি ল্যাপটপ দিয়া ওইখান থেকে বের হইয়া তারপরে বাঁচিয়ে যে ইসের সময় আবার হাত টাত কাটে গেছে অনেকেরই। ওরা ম্যাক্সিমাম 8 জন, ওরা এক একজন এক এক রকমের, তবে ওরা খুব কমফোর্ট ভাবে আসছে, মানে যে আছে না যে একটু ফ্লেক্সিবল ভাবে প্যান্ট শার্ট ইন করা, এবং ওরা ওই যতক্ষণ ছিল আল্লাহু আকবার বলতেছে আর ইয়া করতেছে।
আমি যখন নামাজে যাই তার কিছুক্ষণ পরে হঠাৎ করে একটা ওই রেস্টুরেন্টের ভিতরে আওয়াজ হয়েছে। ওই আওয়াজটার পরে তারা একটু ভয় পেয়ে বারান্দায় গিয়ে তাকায়া দেখছে, দেখার পরে দেখে যে ভিতরে অনেক ফায়ার হচ্ছে, অনেক হইচই হইতেছে। এটা দেখে তারা সবাই বাসার ভিতরে এসে দরজা বন্ধ করে বসে আছে। আমার ছোট ছোট বাচ্চা তারা অনেক কান্নাকাটি করতেছে, তো এই কারণে আর আমার ওয়াইফ আমাকে বলছে তুমি মসজিদেই থাকো, বের হয়ে আর আইসো না, এখানকার অবস্থা খুব খারাপ।
আচ্ছা, যেমনটা শুনছিলাম এলাকাবাসীর জন্য আসলে এটি একটি ভয়াবহ ঘটনা, বা তাদের জন্য একটি ভয়াবহ অভিজ্ঞতা। আমাদের পুরো দেশবাসীর জন্য আসলে এটি একটি ভয়াবহ ঘটনা। যদিও অনেকদিন ধরে আমরা এই ধরনের কিছু সংকেত, কিছু কথাবার্তা শুনতে পাচ্ছিলাম, বিশেষ করে বাইরের দেশের প্রতিনিধিরা।
Again, guys, you are looking at live images coming in from a news station in Bangladesh. The reason you don't have audio is because they are speaking in a foreign language, and so we are just getting the pictures in from Bangladesh. We will continue with more news now. Coverage again, we'll start the stream up again at 1 o'clock. If you guys want more news right now, you can go to fox10phoenix.com and watch our noon broadcast. Until then, see you next time.